Innervibe show on S-ence radio. This is Yas Alexander.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Innervibe show on S-ence radio on Sunday, the 24th of February 2013. I'd like to welcome Rosalind Blue, my co-host.
Hotep.
Hotep, Rosalind Blue, how you doing?
I'm okay, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much.
Yeah. How's your day been?
The day's been good.
I swear we've got deja vu.
Yes, I know, yeah. Yeah, it's been good, Just a chilled one, really.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about earlier, innit, about Sunday's a chill day for most people, isn't it?
But why?
But why? That was the question you asked, yeah. Because it's been given to us by the, you know,
What?
the programming, I guess, you know.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday.
Depends on what you got to do on the days, though. I guess,
exactly.
Because even now, a lot of people do a lot of things on a Sunday, innit? I mean, so it's not really a chill day as such. I think people more chill on an evening, say like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday evening after work. I think that's really their chill time, whether they're sitting in front of the idiot box or, you know, some people like to go down to the pub or, do you know what I mean, go for a meal out.
Yeah, I observed as I was walking through the city centre last night. I like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning because I wanted water and the shop was closed.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just saw loads of people about and they were just, police vans about. Just normal Saturday night.
Yeah. Just people doing their thing.
Get immortal. That's the term they use.
Is that what they're using now?
Yeah.
Get immortal?
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, it was in...
I've not heard that one.
It was in, there's a show, isn't it, called Geordie Shore.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a stupid show. Where they follow, basically, these shows, people just watch other people live their lives. So, it's basically one of them shows.
Wow.
And the lives that these lot live is just basically they go out, get drunk, have sex, throw up, wake up. Basically.
Gosh, I've got to say that I've never ever been like that. Do you know what I mean? I did used to go out back in the day and that, but never got to that point of real stupidity. I mean, just a little bit of stupidity, but not the real stupidity which is taking place on planet Earth right now, especially here in the West.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the drink culture and so forth, and the little which ladies are wearing, especially in this weather. I mean, my God, it's cold.
I was freezing.
And last night I saw some sights, as you said, going through town.
I was freezing.
Do you know what I'm saying?
At them.
Whoa, I don't understand how they can do it, man. It must be that drink, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a beer coat, they call it.
Yeah. It must be what keeps them warm.
Yeah.
The beer coat, yeah?
That's what it's called, yeah.
Fantastic.
No, one time I spoke to a drunk woman.
Fantastic.
I spoke to a drunk woman and she's like, oh, how can you be out here in the cold? I'm okay, I'm wearing my beer coat. And I'm like, okay. See you. Alright then.
Nice one. Yeah. Go swagging that beer coat, innit? For real. Now, because I seen one last night, especially, man, she had the thickest of boots on, the highest of boots on.
Okay.
Red leggings, the see-through ones. I wasn't looking, but obviously I was looking because I knew they were see-through, but you know. A belly top, but in fact, it was just one of them, they call them boob tubes. That's all she had on.
What, basically cloth?
Yo, that's all she had on.
Lol.
I had to look and I think, my God. She probably thought I was looking at us trying to schemes or something. But
no, but okay, fair enough.
Mate.
People wouldn't wear that, but seriously, it's cold.
It is freezing.
It's freezing.
It's freezing. It's freezing.
What's that called? Hypothermia?
Boy, it's a wonder, really, they don't suffer from that.
Beer coat.
Beer coat. The good old beer coat, eh? Awesome.
But tonight on the show, who do we have?
Yeah, we have Lenon Honor. Yes, our good friend Lenon joined us once again.
Discussing
relationships.
Yay! I think we wanted this last time.
This is good. Yeah, this is going to be very interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's got.
Having had a few failed relationships myself.
Yeah, it'd be good to get some good insight and
because
stuff.
he's got a great family there, and it's really nice to see them all interact with each other on the video when they're just coming and just just doing their natural thing. It's amazing. It's nice. Yeah. So then, where shall we go from here? What we'll do, we'll take a break and then give Lenon a call in.
Well, take a break, give Lenon a call, and then we'll join you back on the show and we can chat to Lenon on about relationships. I wonder what he's got in store for us.
Yeah. So many people, they want to know my opinion on the whole situation, but hey man, but yeah, but I'm just hey man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Hey man, yeah, said I'm just hey man, hey man, yeah, know what I'm saying, man. I wonder, who do you believe in? I know it ain't me. I hope it ain't a priest or who you seen on TV. I hope it ain't your papa, partner, he only raised you. And I know it ain't your mom, even though that's who you came through. I'm asking who you pray to. Some believe in angels, some believe in one God, some believe in Jesus, some believe in all of it. Now I mean a part of it ain't true. I know that someone started it, and I know it ain't you. The creator of them blue skies, the great blue sea. I hate me, a cool guy who few relate to. Like, I'm confused too. What does the Jew do? Or what does a black man in Iran who's never heard of Jesus choose? And who do you choose? The heart said the youth, the mind said the truth. The blind let the blind head to heaven with a sign saying I choose you, but left you behind like no one can explain it. It's like one religion can't contain it, and I ain't the man that's trying to change it. I just want answers, live, no cameras. Fuck the propaganda. Many so stranded cause they took a book for granted. Some planted seeds to feed the mind peace over greed. I just keep the truth that I read. World on their knees while the innocence bleeds, and you keep funding wars with money from your source. The shame is all ours, but God, I'm all yours. Save me before the doors close and them horns blown, and I'm alone in my grave thinking maybe I should have prayed more for peace, love, and unity between you and me. No matter who you choose to be. Pop telling me that the Muslims won't make it, and the Muslims telling me my pop won't make it. Yet they both praise him, night and day raise his name until the day he came back to claim him. Is one gonna save them and another take them? Doubt it. They telling me I shouldn't live without it. Belief, relief for the doubters. It keeps me clouded, confused while I'm doing the knowledge. But my God said choose. I choose you. Who do you choose? I hope it ain't me, cause I'm just the MC. But I'm just a man. But I'm just a man. You know what I'm saying? Amen. Yeah. Said I'm just a man. Said I'm just a man. Yeah. Know what I'm saying? Amen. I wonder, who do you believe in? I know it ain't me. And I hope it ain't a priest or who you seen on TV. I hope it ain't your papa, partner, he only raised you. And I know it ain't your mom, even though that's who you came through. I'm asking who you pray to. Some believe in angels, some believe in one God, some believe in Jesus, some believe in all of it. Now I mean a part of it ain't true. I know that someone started it, and I know it ain't you. The creator of them blue skies, the great blue sea. I hate me, a cool guy who few relate to. Like, I'm confused too. What does the Jew do? Or what does the black man in Iran who's never heard of Jesus choose? And who do you choose? The heart said the youth, the mind said the truth. The blind let the blind head to heaven with a sign saying I choose you, but left you behind like no one can explain it. It's like one religion can't contain it, and I ain't the man that's trying to change it. I just want answers, live, no cameras. Fuck the propaganda. Many so stranded cause they took a book for granted. Some planted seeds to feed the mind peace over greed. I just keep the truth that I read. World on their knees while the innocence bleeds, and you keep funding wars with money from your source. The shame is all ours, but God, I'm all yours. Save me before the doors close and them horns blown, and I'm alone in my grave thinking maybe I should have prayed more for peace, love, and unity between you and me. No matter who you choose to be. Pop telling me that the Muslims won't make it, and the Muslims telling me my pop won't make it. Yet they both praise him, night and day raise his name until the day he came back to claim him. Is one gonna save them and another take them? Doubt it. They telling me I shouldn't live without it. Belief, relief for the doubters. It keeps me clouded, confused while I'm doing the knowledge. But my God said choose. I choose you. Who do you choose? I hope it ain't me, cause I'm just the MC. You know what I'm saying? Just be rapping.
Greetings once again, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in. That was Blue Neck Sound and A Man. So check that tune out. It's a real deep tune. You know what I'm saying? You get me? Sending a message out to the peeps. No doubt, no doubt. Right, then we got Lenon Honor on the show this evening. You can check out Lenon Honor's stuff on LenonHonorFilms.com. He's also wrote a book, Deep in the Garden of Consciousness, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so guys can check that out. I'm sure Lenon will share all his links and that with you anyway once he's on. But tonight we're going to talk about relationships.
Yeah.
And our roles as
male females
in relationships. I specifically.
You
specifically said male and female relationships.
Yeah,
So you're not talking about male and male or female and female.
No, I'm quite interested. To see what's in store for this show.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, we have previous shows with previous interviews with Lenon Honor, and I'll share the links at the end of the show.
Later on, yeah. But we're talking about relationships and our roles.
Looking forward to it.
What we play in relationships as male and females.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And even explore why some relationships have gone wrong and why some go right. You know what I mean? What are the fundamental differences? What are the foundations we need to have a strong and stable relationship and so forth? So we're going to dig deeper into that this evening. We're going to give Lenon a call in right now as we speak. Just hope we don't get any technical difficulties this evening.
Greetings.
Hotep, Lenon, how you doing, man?
Hello?
Hotep, can you hear us?
Hello?
Hi, can you hear us, Lenon?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay, awesome, brilliant. How you doing, Lenon?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, man, good, thank you very much. Long time, man.
Yeah, it's been a while. How's it going, Rosalind?
Yeah, man, everything.
Hi, Lenon. It's good. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Is my audio loud enough there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just cold. That's all it is.
Well, it's about 75, about 75 degrees where I'm at here.
What?
Is that Fahrenheit or Celsius?
That's Fahrenheit.
Is that hot?
Well, that's like warm, so it'll probably get up to 80, which would be kind of hot, but not so hot.
Yeah. So, wow. That's what, 35. Wow. We're on about -1, -2 Celsius, yeah.
I have no idea what that range feels like.
It's cold, Lenon. It's just horrid. And we British, people always talk about how the British complain about weather, but we have a lot to complain about.
Yeah.
But oh well.
Oh dear. So Lenon. Then tonight, as we said last time, we want to see you back to talk about relationships because we see that you have a strong, steady, stable relationship there, and it's a beautiful family, as I said before, and it's what we should be all aspiring to, in my opinion, in order to have a life on earth to help each other. Do you know what I mean? A strong family is the foundations of that, I believe.
Yes, I totally agree. My wife and I, we have a very blessed relationship, and it has been blessed since the beginning. We've never had, what we call drama. We never argued, never fussed, never fought with each other. I've never called her out her name or, she's never done anything like that to me. And, no level of violence. That includes argument, because arguing is a form of violence. It's just verbal violence. We have had a very blessed relationship, but I want to point out that the model for relationships that I received as a child was not positive, and the model that my wife received as it relates to male-female relationships was not positive. In point of fact, my childhood, there was a lot of physical violence. My father brutalized my mother in extreme ways. When I say extreme, I mean ways that it's the kind of stuff that, people would say like, wait a minute, that sounds like something out of a horror movie. Mm-hmm. And so the model that I saw for manhood, the model that I saw for a family institution and the model that I saw for male-female relationships, it was very much devolved. It was quite volatile. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because, my wife and I, we really tried to help people to realize that male-female relationships is the most natural thing that takes place on the planet. That positive male-female relationships, it's part of what allows this species to perpetuate itself and to live happy, whole, and peaceful lives. And it can start, not just for the two individuals who are involved in the positive relationship, but also their progeny, meaning the children that they create, that we can actually provide for them those things that we may not necessarily have had in our childhood, or maybe not allow them to have models of manhood, models of womanhood, or models of male-female relationships that are quite destructive. I mean, we have that power. And my wife and I, one of the things that we try to do is just to illustrate to people that it's not that it doesn't matter what we've been through, but in the bigger scope of things, we all have the power to transcend whatever it is that we may have gone through. So even if for instance, my father, he was brutal to my mother. He was not a good man. He was not a good father. He was definitely not a good husband. He was a drug addict. He was an alcoholic. When I say drugs, I'm talking hardcore drugs. He was not responsible. I can go on and on and on. This doesn't mean that I don't love him, but I recognize that as a model for manhood, he was definitely not something I was going to aspire towards. And one of the things that happens for many of us, especially young males and young females too, but in particular young males, is when we are not provided with models for manhood that are honorable. It really disrupts our sense of self-worth and self-value. And on some level, we begin to think that somehow it's unattainable to be honorable. It's unattainable to be a good husband. It's unattainable to be a good father. We begin to believe that we are worthless, that we have no value, that we really, there's nothing that we can actually offer because of the model that we've seen. So even if our fathers are there and are destructive, or maybe our fathers are completely absent, this impacts us, how we perceive ourselves as men, because our fathers they should be our first, I guess you can say, our first indicator as to what our value is once we come into manhood. And then on top of that, we get all of the programming. So, I've talked a lot about the media manipulation and the various degrees of mind control programming. This comes in the forms of, television shows. I can run off a slew of television shows wherein, in particular, black males were portrayed in very devolved ways, and in particular, black fathers were portrayed in very devolved ways. Movies, the same thing. And not just males, older males, but also boys, how they were portrayed. We all have to be gangsters. We all have to be, entertainers. We all have to be rappers. We're all drug dealers. We're drug addicts. All these types of programs. That's a lot of pressure to be placed on a young male, especially in the midst of him being in an environment that is volatile, and he sees his father, who is supposed to be the model for him in terms of manhood, as a destructive force. It's very difficult. But despite all of that, I just want to outline, especially for you men who are listening here, that it's all transcendable. And I'm an example of this, that it's all transcendable. It comes down to a choice. And so what my wife and I, what we try to do is to illustrate how, in terms of our relationship, we have managed and we have naturally and organically created a family institution that is thriving, and our children are blessed because of it, despite the fact that the model that I received in terms of manhood and the model that my wife received in terms of male-female relationships growing up, despite the fact that they were quite devolved, we were able, and anyone is able, in our opinion, in our perspective, to be able to materialize and manifest a positive male-female relationship. And that's pretty much what my wife and I, in terms of that level of work that we're doing with helping people to realize positive relationships, that's what we seek to do. And so we have a show on Saturdays, Metamorphosis, Transforming Your Vision of Male-Female Relationships. And then also we have a show on Sunday, it's a live video stream, Positive Relationships. And that's our way to help people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. If you don't mind, Lenon, if we could touch on a few of the programs on the TV and movies which have portrayed a certain negative image of, say, black actors or black people, which then has an influence in how we perceive ourselves, and to some degree. Could you just touch on a few of these films and TV programs, please, for the viewers?
Yes. Okay, so let me think back. Okay, so television programs. One that comes to mind is a show called Good Times.
Yeah.
Okay. What's another one? I'm just thinking back to my childhood because that's where much of the programming people receive and how it impacts their vision of male-female relationships and manhood and womanhood. It stems from early childhood programming. I can think of Good Times. I can also think of The Jeffersons. That was another one that we used to watch growing up. Let me see if I can think of one more. Another one would be Martin. And that's a little bit later. You know, it's interesting because the further back you go, it's more difficult to think of film or at least television shows wherein, you found headlining actors who happen to be African American, Black, or Moorish. But Martin is an example of that. You know, at a certain point, when we go back to the 60s, we get the whole pimp programming, and that was expressed highly within what we call Black exploitation films. Okay, so I'm writing this down so I can get to each one of these exploitation films. Like Shaft, that would be an excellent example of that. Let's see, so Black exploitation films, that's in the film industry. Another one in terms of films more when I was growing up, I was born in 1975, was movies like Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
Boys in the Hood. That has some serious psychological trauma programming in there for young Black males. Boys in the Hood.
Friday even?
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah.
That's another one. Friday, too, and to a degree in terms of the Sambo, the representation of the Sambo archetype. Because oftentimes a lot of the comedy films, the presentation as it relates to Black males, it's really Sambo archetypes, but just molded for the, I guess we can say the 21st century.
Yeah.
Or, I guess you can look at it that way. So Friday is another one. Also, any of the Tyler Perry movies, okay, where he's dressing in drag. What do they call that? I haven't actually watched any of those because it's just so much, it's so ridiculous. Medea, that's another one. Because now we're getting into gender bending programming, and that's problematic in that a man cannot function as a man if he's behaving like a woman.
That's right, and vice versa.
And vice versa. There's that movie, what is it? Think Like a Man, Think Like a Man, or something like that. Act like a lady or act like a man, something like that. But it's gender bending, act like a lady.
Yeah.
I like Tu Wong Fu as well.
What was that?
Tu Wong Fu?
Tu Wong Fu. Yes, Tu Wong Fu. That was with Wesley Snipes, right?
Yeah.
Yes, no, Wesley Snipes. And that even brings us. Now you bring up Wesley Snipes. Even films like what was that? Jungle Fever.
Yeah.
Fever. That was another one. That was race-based mind control programming. Spike Lee does a lot of that. Let's see, what was the other one that came to mind? Do the Right Thing. That's also. Race-based mind control program, but it's really trauma-based. A lot of this programming is trauma-based. It's to traumatize young Black males' perception of what's possible in their life. And so let me go back then. So, and if you guys can think of any television shows, you just let me know, because I just can't think. When I think back to television shows, I go back to like Jefferson's, Good Times, and Martin, and I'm sure there's other ones too.
Yeah, because even like Cosby Show to a certain degree, and you got like the Sambo archetype in Bill Cosby.
Yes, that's another one. Okay, that'd be great there, because I watched a lot of the Cosby Show. So when we talk about the impact, and really what we're dealing with is human psychology, and as it relates to young Black males. In many cases, because we don't have models for fathers. In other words, in some cases, for a lot of us, and my father was only in the home for a short period of time, and while he was in the home, he was very destructive. But in the absence of that, we look for ourselves. We look for our future selves in other people. We look for our future selves in, other males, other men. It may be even our peer groups. We look for other people. It's natural for us to do this. And this is for anybody. It doesn't matter what quote unquote race. If you buy into the concept of race, which is an illusion, it's a whole other topic for a whole other time. That's besides the point. The point is that as human beings, I should say, we always seek to find the future. Us. Okay, so in other words, as a young male, I'm looking for a representation of me in the future. As a young woman or a young girl will look for a representation of her in the future, and then that representation becomes what she aspires to. The problem is that the first person who should provide a young girl with a model should be her mother, and the first person who should provide the young boy with a model is his father. And if you look at that issue, if the father's not functioning as an honorable man, then that's going to create psychological trauma for the young boy and programming for the young boy that will be disruptive later on as he comes into manhood. And the same thing for a young girl. If the mother is not functioning as an honorable mother, an honorable woman, then that will become programming for the young girl. And what the young girl aspires to may not necessarily be in her best interest later on in life. So one of the things that has happened, and one of the things that, what I call media manipulators, they understand, and a lot of this has to do with advertisements and subliminal messages, is that oftentimes people externalize their identity. In other words, they're trying to find something that can be a representation of themselves outside of themselves. So I call this the externalization of identity. Now, this can be done in advertisements, and this is how people are kind of led along to purchase products that they don't really need. In other words, they see a picture of someone who kind of looks like them, and they identify with that person. And because that person has the product, they have to go buy the product too. Right? That's the psychology. This is basic stuff. But the same thing applies to a young male who is perhaps he's looking for himself in someone else. Maybe his father is there, but his father is destructive. He sees himself in his father. Maybe his father is not there, and he's looking for someone. He's looking for some male to represent him or a future representation of him. So one of the things that has happened is advertisements does this, but also television programming does this. What happens is that when an individual sees someone who looks like them on the screen, automatically as human beings, we begin to associate ourselves with that individual because that individual looks like us, okay? And so if their skin color looks like us, then we have a relationship to them. At least we perceive it on a subconscious level. If the individual has, let's say, a hair texture like we have or a haircut like we have, we identify with that individual. So at a certain point, when people started having flat tops, on television or in movies, there's a whole lot of young black males who began to have flat tops. Why is that the case? Because there was a whole group of young black males who were seeking to find a future representation of themselves. Right. Same thing when you go to afros, right? When you get into the 60s and in the early 70s where everyone was wearing afros. Well, that's not by accident. It's not that someone woke up and said, I think it'd be a good idea for me to have an afro. No, it's because they received programming. And because other people were doing it that they identified with, they decided to do it too. Okay, so this is the externalization of identity. It's a group dynamic. It's part of, I guess, what we can call the hive mind mentality. And this is something that advertisers and also film producers, radio show producers too, also television show producers, they understand this basic aspect of human psychology. So getting to a film like Good Times or a television show like Good Times, even the let me see if I can pull this up, because even the song itself is programming the intro song. So let's see, Good Times television show lyrics, because I remember hearing those lyrics so much, and for whatever reason, it resonated with me. Okay, and Good Times is set in a projects. I can't remember. I think it's in Chicago somewhere. Here are the lyrics. Okay, so it's in the hook or the chorus. Again, this is what I mean by the programming that we receive. I mean, we get it not just in music and entertainment industry, but also in television shows and the actual theme song for the television shows. Right. So here's one, Good Times, and here's the opening lyrics. Anytime you meet a payment, good times. Anytime you need a friend, good times. Anytime you're out from under, not getting hassled, not getting hustled, keeping your head above water, making a wave when you can. Temporary layoffs, good times. Easy credit rip-offs, good times. Scratching and surviving, good times. Hanging in a chow line, good times. Really?
Wow.
And then it says, ain't we lucky we got them, good times.
Good times.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Just looking out the window, watching the asphalt grow. What? You see what I'm saying? People just really think about it. When we do lyrical analysis outside of the scope of fanhood and fandom, we come to a level of sanity and we say, whoa, wait a minute, what's really being said here? And this is all programming. Yeah. Watching the asphalt grow, thinking how it all looks, hand me down. Good times, yeah, good times. Keeping your head over water. Keeping your head above water, making a wave when you can. Temporary layoffs, good times. Okay, and then there's a voiceover spoken by John Amos. Good times, which and Good Times recorded in front of a live studio audience. John Amos, he also played Kunta Kinte.
Oh yeah.
And he played the latter Kunta Kinte when he grew up later on in life. The point being that Good Times is set inside of a projects, and the interactions you don't see. John Amos's character is quite honorable too, given the circumstances. But it's interesting because I remember at a certain point, his character dies. Okay. And even within the context of their family institution prior to that, the interactions, you got the, JJ, he is the, again, Sambo archetype. So many young males, they didn't necessarily identify with the father figure. What they identified with was this Sambo archetype. And this was JJ. He used to always say, dynamite, right? And in his mannerisms, how he looked, how he dressed, it's just a representation or presentation of the Sambo archetype. So this again becomes what some young males begin to perceive to be a representation of their future self. Okay, and I should also mention that this also has to do with an age range. If you're within a particular age range, you will see other males who are quite older than you as a model. Okay, oftentimes when you get past that age range, you look at that what you perceive to be a model and you say, "Whoa, that was ridiculous. That was buffoonery." Okay,
yeah.
So Good Times is an example, and it's right there in the lyrics. I remember those lyrics. I mean, I can hear the song in my head, and I can play it back inside of my head, and that's programming as well. Okay, so in other words, part of this show, it speaks to this notion that as Black people, no matter how difficult it may be, you just have a good time, or you make it into a good time. Well, from my vantage point, that's not enough. It's not enough just to make a good, when you're having temporary layoffs or easy credit rip-offs or scratching and surviving and I'm going to have a good time. No, I don't want that for me, and I don't want that for my children. I don't want them experiencing that. So why not do something greater? You know, why not become something greater? Why not aspire towards something greater? Now, I'm not saying that this is not a reality for some people in terms of what was being presented in that show. What I am saying is that at a certain point, especially for Black folk, we have to think beyond particular paradigms. That's why, like many people in the 80s, it was a badge of honor that they lived in the ghetto. I'm from the ghetto. I'm from what we used to call the hood. I'm from the hood. Yeah, I'm from the hood. And people would say it like it was a badge of honor, like it was something to be, you're respected, because no, that's bullshit. That's not something to be respected for. That doesn't make, I mean, what does that mean? So if I have my children living in the hood, that means that I'm a good father? And that means that everything's good? It's good times? No, that's bullshit.
Yeah, and again, Lenon, rap music portrays that same agenda, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the point, right? So we got it with Good Times, and we get it later on with it's the same programming. You know, and many Black folk, this is what we call poverty consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, it perpetuates itself. And because of poverty consciousness, not only do you have poverty consciousness in terms of where you live and your finances and your material existence, but also the quality of your male-female relationships. There we go.
Yeah.
See, there is a mentality that's associated with poverty within male-female relationships, and it comes from the programming that we receive. Okay, so Good Times is an example. Another one is the Jeffersons. This is kind of like, if you look at Good Times, and then the opposite extreme would be the Jeffersons, where you have a successful businessman and he lives in these high-rise apartments and they're well off and so forth. But his whole character is just straight outlandish. He's hot-headed, you know, and how he talks. He's very much race-based oriented. So you get the same kind of programming. The Jeffersons was another example. Another one would be Martin, and that was one that I watched a great deal growing up. That was very popular when I was growing up, but that was all buffoonery. You know, the other dynamic in terms of the programming is rarely do you see men and women operating as adults and as responsible adults within these television shows. Okay, they may behave like little children, right? And it's the buffoonery, it's the interactions where it's kind of silly, right? And it's always put within the scope of comedy. Like, I can ask the question to anyone out there, when was the last time you've seen a drama show? When I say drama, I'm not talking about drama, okay? I'm talking about a dramatic production that's not centered within the scope of comedy.
Yeah.
Wherein a Black man and a Black woman and a family were together and were thriving, and the father was operating as an honorable man, the mother was operating as an honorable woman. I don't believe I've ever seen that on television. You see, and there's a reason why, and part of the reason why is because the system itself, in terms of film production, television series, it all predicates on this Sambo archetype. That's why everything, as it relates to Black people, that's why everything is always put in the scope of two things: entertainment. Okay, so if you can rap good, okay, you got a place, okay? And comedy, okay? So that's why all these shows are considered to be comedy shows. That's why, you know, when we talk about Black folk and them coming into, and when we talk about entertainment, this also filters into the sports world too as well. That's another aspect of entertainment. But that's why a lot of the movies that we see, it's all comedy. And that's why comedians, in particular Black comedians, tend to do well. Right, especially if they behave in particular ways. So the Jeffersons is another example. Martin, and again, Martin, he was a very, I guess we can say a very good, actor and I was actor and comedian. So his show made sense in that sense, right? If that makes sense, sense. But the point being is that when we look at Martin, his interaction with Gina, he was very childish. Their interaction as boyfriend and girlfriend, and later on as husband and wife, it was not an accurate representation of what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a man. And I'm talking about, if we set the standard, based upon poverty consciousness, we may say, no, that's okay. But what I'm saying is that we can set higher standards. And it's not just so that we can have a positive relationship and a thriving relationship, but so that our progeny can experience a greater model too. So this is to say that if anyone, even if you thought that Martin and his relationship with Gina was respectful, just imagine if you were him as a man and your wife was Gina as a woman, would that relational model work? How they interacted with each other, would that work for you? They were actually quite childish in their interactions. How they and what they talked about on the show, all the way across the board, and it was all put within the scope of comedy. Yeah. Male-female relationships, in particular black male-female relationships, should not be comedic. Because this is serious stuff. But if you trivialize it through comedy, people will begin to perceive it as such, and that becomes a program. That becomes the foundational programming that many young people see. And again, in the absence of having an honorable man or a father inside of the home, or in the absence of having an honorable woman or a mother in the home, young people will begin to externalize their identity. So they might externalize their identity to the characters in Good Times, or the characters in The Jeffersons, or Martin, or Gina, what have you. Yeah. And then the other one was The Cosby Show. The one thing I should say about The Cosby Show is that was probably the first one that had a level of balance, right? It had a level of balance. However, and this is from my perspective, Bill Cosby, and his role was quite comedic in the film, and he was often treated as if he was a child, like another child, like he was another Theo. In fact, how Claire, his wife, treated him oftentimes was as if he was a little child. That's right. He did not necessarily represent a masculine man. Okay, he really represented a man who was in the home. He was a professional. He was handling his business, of course, but he had a very childlike quality, and he would get himself into little trouble, and all this kind of thing. And from my vantage point, as it relates to an honorable man, it was definitely a step up, of course, from something that we saw in The Jeffersons or Good Times. But in terms of setting a model that is functional within a positive male-female relationship, I don't necessarily perceive that model as being one that would be respectful. But I will say that The Cosby Show had a level of balance, and for that, I'm very thankful. Another thing, too, in terms of The Cosby Show is that it caused, in terms of social programming, it caused a lot of black folk to begin to think that all they had to do was to become professionals, that their families would be taken care of. Yeah. That's true. Okay, because if Claire is a lawyer and Dr. Huxtable is a doctor, who's taking care of these children? Yeah. See, this is what I mean in terms of male-female relationships. Yeah. If you're going to bring children into the world, who's going to take care of them? That's right. And see, part of the problem is that in the absence of a mother taking care of their children, or a father taking care of their children, something else will have to take care of their children. Yeah. That may be the state, that may be public education system, that may be a what do they call it? A nanny, right? And in some cases, it becomes the television, or nowadays the internet. And then now, what do they get? Over the internet, they get the new representation of Good Times, The Jeffersons, Martin, Cosby. And it's a cycle repeats itself all over again. Yeah. So it doesn't solve the issue, okay, just by being professional and having more money rolling in relative to someone who's not quote unquote professional. Yeah. Okay.
But this is another another deception, is it? From this capitalist system that we're living under. They've deceived families to go in to work because we need to pay for the holidays, the cars, then you got the bills on top of that, and it's kind of like forced both parents to go to work, so they can't look after their newborns even and their children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how the system is designed. It's designed that way. Yeah. And I think that's why my wife and I, what we're doing, not that it's revolutionary, but it presents and it's a challenge. It is a challenge. It's not easy. We run online businesses. That's how we earn income. And so therefore we have our children here at home every single day. We, feed them ourselves. We educate them ourselves. And it's a whole new way. It's not a new way, but it's a totally different way. And part of this was my wife and I, we agreed upon this arrangement that we were going to do for our children that which was what was either not done for us or was not able to be done for us. And again, that gets back to this issue, the stress, the struggle of trying to keep the lights on, to get rent paid, to, if you have a mortgage, if you want to have that fancy car, if you going to have the fancy clothes, if you're going to have all of that stuff based upon programming that you receive, then ultimately you're going to have to work and your spouse is going to have to work, and that leaves the children up, in the care of who, when, and how, and in that sense, you're absolutely right. It becomes very difficult for people. And in this sense, when we talk about the family institution, it becomes very difficult to maintain a balanced family institution wherein the children are being taken care of by one of the parents or both of the parents, because the system is not designed for that effect. The system is designed to break up the family institution. And this means that the children are being raised by something outside of the family institution. That can be the public education system, that can be daycare, what have you. Well, from my wife and I, from our vantage point, what we're trying to do is to represent something different than that and to show how it can be done by individuals. And we would hope that other people would be inspired to, even if it's 20 years down the line when they have their first child, they can say, you know what, maybe we can do, maybe one of us, we can stay home. See, the Cosby Show really presented this program of the mother and father as professionals, and I always ask the question, well, who's taking care of the children? You see, so it's an inaccurate representation of what takes place, because in most cases when children are not being taken care of and being raised by the parents, they're being raised by society or social structures, and that can be very problematic.
And it is problematic. Because there's a lot of challenges being faced by teenagers today. I mean, we came across some figures by one of the charities here in the UK on abusive relationships within teenagers, and they are soaring. I don't know the correct, I've not got the correct figures right here in front of me, but I know it's risen some 60-70% within the last 5 or 10 years, and that's quite alarming.
Yes. And that's another one of the socialized programs too, is for many parents, and there's this idea that when your children reach a certain age, they're supposed to be out of the house. See, and this is all based upon this social construct we're in, and part of it is once we get them out of the house, we won't have to take care of them, and therefore we'll have more money. Because it's a capitalist system. That's really what it comes down to. And people, in terms of their orientation towards their children, in many cases, I should say in some cases, the children are looked upon as burdens as it relates to finance, or a liability. Okay, this is a financial liability. That's why they always talk about it. Children are expensive. It's going to cost you such and such a, if you think of it capitalistically, if that's your orientation, you're going to look at it that way, and you're going to find a reason to look upon your children and say, you know what, this is a liability, this is a financial liability. We don't look at our children that way. These are the ultimate forms of blessings that we have in our lives. This is our abundance, my wife and I.
That's right. And that's the first thing usually what people do actually say, well, children are expensive.
Yeah, but see, that comes from a mentality of capitalism, right? And it also it expresses a level of depreciation for children, the value of children. You see, so there are people who value money more than they value children. But guess what? You can have the same. And my wife and I, again, financially, we are by no means in any place where it's like, oh wow, we're doing wonderful. But that's okay. But we do know that what we're doing for our family, for our children, is the best that we can do right now. And that in and of itself, if that means that we have to, have financial issues for the next 4 or 5 years. We've had them for the last 12 years now. We can deal with that. We can handle that. But in the first place, we know what is most valuable, and that is our children. See, a lot of the programming that we get in terms of how we perceive children is also based upon this need that once they reach a certain age, we're done with them. And see, what happens is that when the child is quote unquote kicked out at the age of 16, 17, or 18, in the States it's usually the 18, okay, you're considered to be an adult, they are thrust out into the world totally unprepared. Their parents didn't really teach them because it was the state systems that taught them. They may be public education system, what have you. So they're thrust out onto the world stage, and they get out there and they fumble. They may spend time for the next 10 years trying to get themselves together. See, it's amazing to me. I always ask the question, how is it that an individual can be in a public education system, or any institution for that matter, for let's say 12 years of their life, and then come out and don't know who they are, don't know why they're on the planet, don't know why they're here, don't know what they're here to contribute. Well, there's a reason why. See, who is the individual that is to assist the child in realizing why they are here on the planet? It's the parents. That's our job. That's why with our children, what we do is we look at what are they interested in. Okay, and I can tell you, each one of our children, well, for the most part, because baby J, we don't know quite yet, But my oldest son, he's into construction. He's into building things. Okay, he's into electricity. So what do? We get him stuff that talks about electricity. We get him books about electricity. We get him Legos, and he gets to build things. And so whatever his interest is at any given time, that's what we provide resources for him. Yeah. And that allows him to be inspired. And that's part of, from our vantage point, if that's what you're interested in, then that must be part of why you're here. And that interest will change. Once that interest changes, okay, we'll present you with resources. Okay, my second son, he's into different languages. He's into countries. You know, he can tell you, he can look at the geography. He's all into that. And it's not something that we have to teach him per se. We just provide him with the resources. He gets all into it. He's into music. He loves Stevie Wonder. So we get him Stevie Wonder. We got him a karaoke. My brother brought him a karaoke machine. He's been there singing Stevie Wonder all the time. You see? Each one of our children, they have a particular interest. And what we do is we provide them with that interest. When we put into the public education system, it's not interest-based. It's not based upon what the child's inherent talents are or what they're curious about. It's a streamlined program that is presented to all children. That's problematic because some children may not be interested in a particular subject and they're sitting in class and it has nothing to do with why they're here, and they're given being fed all this information. Then when they get out 12 years later, they have no idea. Yeah. And then when they get out 12 years later, they're thrust out onto the world stage and weren't raised by their family, weren't raised by their father or by their mother. Yeah. See, that's a problem, you know. And again, within this, as you stated earlier, within this dynamic, in the absence of them having someone that they can see and perceive to be the future themselves or the future them, they begin to look to external forces. Yeah. That can be the television, that can be the internet, that can be the movies, that can be their peer group at school. And that's why many parents, when their children, at a certain point, they look at their children and say, I don't even know who this person is. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a reason why you didn't raise them. Yeah. Okay. Now, what I also want to say this, that if it's okay, if you have your child in the public education system for whatever reason, and it may just be a financial issue because the system is designed for that. We have to be honest about that. You know, my wife and I, we just made the commitment. We're going to, if this means we have to sacrifice certain things in order to make this happen and present this model to other people around the world, then so be it. We can deal with this. We can handle that. But if your situation is such that you have to have your children in the public education system and you're working and maybe your spouse is working or you're a single mother or a single father, just make sure you make up for the difference. That means when your child comes home and you're with them, don't go on the television. You know, don't go on the internet. Don't do that. Cook them a nice meal, talk with them, have conversation. What happened with school today? How are you doing today? How's, you know, make up for the difference. And it can be done. See, it's not that the system is so overwhelming that we can't be parents. It's just that we have to be clear about what is important. And if we're going to have our children in the public education system or being raised by the state or what have you, just make sure you do your due diligence to make up for the difference when they come home. Yeah. Okay. So I want to make that point because it's very important. I don't want people to think that somehow you're not a good parent because you have your children in the public education system, because most people, if they had a choice, they wouldn't have their children inside the public education system. But because of financial issues, because of how the system is set up globally, most people have to put their children in the public education system.
Yeah. In my experience, talking to people, because we do a lot of interviews out on the street, because we're doing a couple of documentaries at the moment, and in the line of works which I've been doing for the past 15 years or so in the community, in my experience, people don't want to learn. They would prefer to be taught by the mainstream education system, schools and colleges and so forth, and don't want to learn outside of that. That's very problematic. When someone doesn't want to learn outside of that, which has been given to them by the state.
Yes, and part of that is that because if you look at children when we're born, we want to learn everything. Yeah. We pick up things in a miraculous ways. There's a reason why, and people say, oh, no, that just happens when we're children. No, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. See, what happens is once we get into the public education system, if it's not balanced out with parents who are, once the children come home and kind of balance things out, the children lose that genius. Mm-hmm. They lose that curiosity. And see, what happens is they get conditioned. See, it's conditioning. See, you have to be conditioned to sit inside of a classroom for 4, 5, 6 hours a day because it's not natural. I mean, especially for children, because first thing children want to do is run around, play, enjoy, get out in the sun. So you have to be conditioned, you know, in order to be able to get to a point where you desire to be in that situation, where you desire to be in a classroom, where you desire to be taught by someone who's not your parent, or you desire to be taught by someone who's teaching a whole class about a subject that is generalized. It has nothing to do with your interests. You have to be conditioned that way. It's not natural for us as a human species to sit inside of a classroom with a whole bunch of other children and have one person teach on a subject and it has no relevance. You have no interest in it whatsoever. And then you begin to enjoy it. And not only do you begin to enjoy it, you expect that type of arrangement indefinitely. Well, that's just socialization. That's programming. That's not natural per se. And this plays itself out later on in life, because people do the same thing later on in life. And the difference is that if you look at a child when they, and I can use my own children as an example, they're interested in learning. I mean, if whatever it is that they're interested in, that's what they're going to learn about. And all we have to do is provide them with the resources. And this is to say that they actually teach themselves. See, this is what takes place. Well, for me, once I got out of college, I actually began to teach myself. What I'm talking about here, this is not what I learned in college. Okay? When I do my documentary work, that's not what I learned in college. You know, when I write a book, that's not based upon what I learned in college or high school or junior high school or anything before that. No, that's not the case. It's based upon study after I got out of that particular matrix and I began to realize, wait a minute, I don't know a damn thing. And I'm going to have to go through a process of refining my intellect, learning things that are substantial, that are going to benefit me, going to benefit my family, so that I can be a good husband, be a good father, be a good provider, etc. And then I can also help other people. Coming out of high school, coming out of college, that wasn't my mindset. That was, and I was not prepared intellectually. I was not prepared based upon the information that I received while I was in college. The program is that if you go to college, somehow everything's going to be okay. If you graduate from high school, somehow everything's going to be okay. That's not the case. I know people who have PhDs, who are doctors. Yeah. And I kid you not, and they have $400,000 in debt. And they've been out of this institution, meaning, you know, they've already graduated and they got their PhD. They've been out for 15, 20 years now. I know one person in particular, very well-known African-American doctor, woman doctor, and I'm not going to say exactly where, but it's where I was raised. Y'all can put the pieces together. And $400,000 in debt, and she had been out of school for over 10, 15 years. I mean, that just shows you, I mean, the system itself, I mean, it's designed this way to where the financial pressure is so great, and we aspire towards things that we think are going to solve all of our problems. And in the process, what do? Whatever it is that we create in terms of our family institution or within the context of male-female relationship, that's not our focus. That's not what's important. So we wonder why this particular individual has never, in my whole time knowing this individual, has never been in a positive male-female relationship, has no children. Yeah. She may be at an age now where she's incapable of doing it. But part of this is because of the matrix that she was in, not just in high school, but going into college, getting her PhD ultimately, and then being placed within this medical establishment. It does not facilitate positive male-female relationships. See, and so the struggle becomes whether or not I'm going to continue to pursue this career that has put me $400,000 in debt from the start, and whether or not I'm going to do that, or am I going to try to figure out a way to not have to do it so much to pay back all of these student loans, to where I can actually facilitate a positive male-female relationship, because it's quite difficult. You have to have an investment of time into a positive male-female relationship, and you can't do that if all you're doing is trying to figure out a way to pay back $400,000. I mean, $400,000. I mean, how do you do that? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? How do you figure out a way, regardless of how much money you're making, where you're going to be able to pay $400,000 in debt? So this is debt that accumulated for her whole college career. That's and I can only imagine what's the interest rate on that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the interest rate alone is probably more than what some people make in a year in and of itself. So part of what I'm saying is that the system itself, whatever the matrix is that people, and in particular people who go into professional careers, we have to be very clear. That's why the Cosby Show was disingenuous. Because just because you have a career, and it's not that it's impossible, what I'm saying is that if it becomes your whole focus, if having a career, it becomes your whole focus, then the energy that you can put into a positive and maintaining a positive male-female relationship, or to be able to be a present parent to your children, it's going to be much more difficult, because you're not going to have as much time, you're not going to have much energy to focus on that, which in my opinion is more important. Okay, so I hope I'm not ranting here.
No,
but I just
no. Yeah. A question I want to ask Lenon, so after all this, what does it take for a male and a female to have a positive relationship?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. You know, my wife and I, we've written articles on this particular topic, and one of the most important things is what I call the wholeness principle, and it's coming to mind too here right now. So let me just let's do this. Let's do wholeness principle. Okay. Let's do collective growth, and a collective, let's say, goal. Okay, so the wholeness principle, this is something I've been teaching for quite some time, because oftentimes the programming that we receive is based upon the notion that men and women were the opposites of each other, right? That we are separate. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why when people say, opposite sex, well, opposite sex is even in the language. If we look at the language that we use when we talk about male-female relationships, the language itself facilitates, negative relationships. Because if you say that's my opposite sex, opposite implies opposition.
Yeah.
Opposition implies a conflict.
Yeah.
Conflict ultimately materializes in the form of war.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when we say opposite sex, what we're really saying is war with the other sex. You see what I'm saying? That's not holistic. And if war is the foundation, then you're going to have problems materializing a positive male-female relationship, because a war implies negative. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So even in the language, you look at the language, boyfriend. Why would you want a boyfriend? Boy implies boy. As a grown woman, why would you want a boy who's just a friend? You want a man. More specifically, you want an honorable man. For you men out there, why would you say I want a girlfriend? Yeah. In point of fact, if I say my wife is a girlfriend, that's disrespectful from my vantage point. That's disrespecting for her. She's a grown woman. Mm-hmm. And she's not just a friend. She is a friend, but she's also the mother of my children. You see what I'm saying? So she's more than just a friend. You see what I'm saying? So even in the language that we use, it's an indicator as to how the system is structured so as to have people fail in positive male-female relationships, or fail in establishing positive male-female relationships. So the wholeness principle, this is something that my wife and I, we've been teaching, and that is that as men, we should perceive women to be part of us. And as women, women should perceive men to be as part of them. That it's not that we're separate. It's not that we're opposite of each other. We're complementary. See, if we say complementary sex, that implies that completion. Yeah. Okay, you see the difference? Completion versus, the opposition. Okay, there's a difference, you see. So if we say complementary sex, even in the language, it shifts things automatically. Okay, so complementary sex, this implies a complement. This implies completion. This implies a whole, right? It's holistic now. Okay, so complementary means that we're part of a whole. You have the feminine complement and the masculine complement, and you bring those together. Now you have completion. That's right. Okay, so complementary now. Okay, now, and again, really, male-female relationships, it's really the representation of a cosmic order in the universe of masculine and feminine energies. That's really what it comes down to. That's why it's so natural, and it's so natural and normal, and it's something that is an abundance. It's just that the programming gets us to the point where we see it and perceive it as being unnatural, or we see it as being hard. Then we begin to say things like it's hard to have a good relationship. No, it's not hard. It's quite easy. I can tell you from personal experience. So the wholeness principle operates on this notion that instead of seeing ourselves as being divided from each other, that we perceive ourselves to be part of a whole. And if you perceive your mate to be a part of you, then you will not do anything to harm her, because to harm her is to what? It is to harm yourself. Yeah. See, that's a whole different orientation than what most people perceive. For a woman, if you perceive your man to be part of you and you're part of a whole, then you know that to harm him in any way would be to harm yourself. Why would you want to harm yourself? See, just that change in consciousness, if you will, transforms how we perceive the nature of male-female relationships. See, that's a mental thing. That's what I'm saying. Regardless of the matrix itself, it's a mental issue, and it comes down to our vision of male-female relationships. How do we perceive male-female relationships? If you perceive it holistically, then everything that you do will be placed in context. Everything that you do as a man, as it relates to a woman, will be placed in context. Everything that you do as a woman, in terms of a male-female relationship, will now be placed in context, because now you're operating collectively as a whole. Okay, that's what we call the wholeness principle. Now, part of this collective effort now deals with this notion of collective growth. What this means is that part of what has to take place, especially for those of us who grew up in this matrix, myself included, was that at a certain point when I began to realize that, wait a minute, this is kind of messed up. Went to college for 5 years, I'm still struggling, all this stuff, and it's so difficult, and all, the matrix itself is designed, to have that level of stress. How are you going to materialize anything? And in particular, how are you going to be able to take on a relationship with someone else who's also struggling with the same issues and expect it to be positive? And in some cases, we don't even know ourselves in the first place. We get out of college, we still don't know ourselves, and we're going to materialize a positive relationship? How is that possible? And essential to this is you have to know why you are here. You have to know thyself, as the ancients said. So this notion of collective growth, part of it is that at a certain point, all of us, and really this should be throughout our lives, and that's why I think as parents, when you have your children, even if they're in the public education system, we have to make up for the difference. It's not just about their education. It's about your ability to assist them in them developing an identity. Why am I here? Who am I? What am I? Is there a difference between the two? You see, so this is to say that this is something that should be taking place throughout our lives. But because the system raises us, the system is designed to keep people confused. So even if you graduate from college, even if it's a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or a PhD, people still confused. They still come out, and then you have all this debt packed up on top of all of that. The point being is that at a certain point, we have to get to a point individually, okay, as men and women, to where we begin to look at what are our thoughts, what are our behavior patterns, what are the words that we use, what are the actions that we participate in as it relates to male-female relationships. And then we begin to ask the question. This is the question I love to raise. Okay, so let's say one of the behavior patterns that we tend to use is this notion of dating. And I'm going to tell you, dating is a formula for failure. So let's put it in context. Does dating facilitate the probability of you experience, or a greater probability of you experiencing a positive male-female relationship, where you establish a long-standing relationship and develop a family institution that is thriving, that is loving and caring indefinitely? And the answer is no. That's why people date over and over again. It is a formula for failure. So if you look at the behavior pattern, then you look at your thoughts, okay? What are the thoughts that I'm having right now? You know, how do I think about women? Some males, when they think about women, it's just, okay, this is a sex object, and okay, therefore, this is someone I can dominate sexually. Well, how can you put it? Let's put it in context. Does that mentality facilitate a positive male-female relationship, long-standing, where you can develop a family institution, et cetera? And the answer is no. So always put it in the context. See, oftentimes we don't put it in the context holistically, within the context of a male-female relationship. We put it within the context of an individual. What is it to my benefit? You know, what's going to benefit me in this relationship? Well, that's just individualistic. That's narcissistic in essence. We have to take a holistic approach. It's not just about you, the individual that you may be interested in. You put them within that construct, and you say we're whole. So what's in her best interest? Are my thoughts in her best interest? Are my words in her best interest? Are my actions in her best interest? Same thing for women. She say the thing for same thing about men. So what happens is, if you begin to refine your thoughts, your words, and your actions as it relates to these particular areas, and many other areas as well, what happens is you develop a level of growth that develops what I call internal gravity. And therefore, this internal gravity is what brings unto you new opportunities and new experiences within male-female relationships. It's not that you have to go out and seek it like a predator out on the prowl, a.k.a. dating. It's a condition. It's an internal condition that brings unto you the new opportunity, the possibility of experiencing a positive male-female relationship. Now, what happens is that if you do that work, and I did that work, my wife, she was actually refining herself prior to meeting me as well. When you find the individual who is on that same path, and it's something that happens organically, naturally, it's not that you have to do, you have to make it happen. All you have to do is continue to refine your internal condition, your thoughts, your words, and your actions, and always put it in context of a male-female relationship. This is to say that as a man, if you're not in a male-female relationship, you should still be training yourself right now for one. That means that you should act as if you are in one right now. See, we want to wait until we're in a relationship till now we begin to clean up things inside of the house. You see what I'm saying? We want to wait till we're in a relationship till now we begin to change how we talk. Now we want to be sweet and nice, and we talk all. No, you should be doing that now. Don't wait. We want to wait till we get into a relationship to clean out our car. So that when she gets in the car, oh, your car is so clean. Doggone way, you never cleaned out your car ever. There's all kind of trash in there. No, train yourself now. Be responsible. Even if you're not in a relationship now, if someone says, okay, I want to meet you at this particular time, okay, you be there on time, because the idea is that you train yourself so that you can be reliable, so that when you're in a relationship, you can be reliable for your mate. Okay, so part of what I'm getting at is that if you do these things in advance, what will take place is you will be prepared for the relationship. Once you're in the relationship, now we get into collective growth. See, we miss out on this dynamic because male-female relationships really afford us with a new opportunity to experience higher levels of love and express higher levels of love. See, in the absence of the growth and the absence of the wholeness principle, we begin to think that male-female relationships is really about finding someone that we can kind of interact with and have some fun with, maybe have sexual intercourse with, and boom, 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 that's that. See, it's a trivialization of the experience that really what male-female relationships afford us. What male-female relationships afford each and every one who participates in a male-female relationship is a level of collective growth, meaning that two individuals come together and they've been growing, but they come together and now they grow together. And each one, and what they do is they provide themselves with a mirror through which they can perceive what other areas in my life can I grow in. Why? So that I can grow into higher levels of expression of love. You see, the idea is that prior to getting into into a relationship, you have to have a level of love for self. And that's where the internal refinement takes place. You value yourself. You have self-worth. You have self-value. That's the greatest obstruction for people to experience positive male female relationship is low self-worth. All relationships that we put ourselves in is directly related to our self-value, our self-esteem. So if you build that up, what happens is when you get into a relationship, now you have another opportunity. See, you were able to love yourself as an individual. Now you're presented with an opportunity to now express that level of love that you have for self for someone else. That's what we call the male-female relationship. And now that male-female relationship, it challenges you in particular ways. And it's good challenges because now as you deal with these challenges, you learn how to express and experience higher levels of love. And your mate begins to present to you this opportunity, this wonderful, blessed opportunity to experience higher levels of love. As you deal with these situations and circumstances, these challenges, you learn about what love really is, higher levels of love, higher levels of love. And then ultimately what takes place is, at a certain point, not only were you able to love yourself, you're also you're able to love your mate. She does the same for you as a man, and as a woman, he does that for you. That's where children come into the picture. Mm-hmm. See, I mean, it's a perfect arrangement, ladies and gentlemen. It's a cosmic order. Children come into the picture, and it's not just to have children. It's because now children come and now allow you to experience higher levels of love and to be able to express higher levels of love. Levels of love that you did not experience when you were an individual. Levels of love that you did not experience when you were just a couple. Now you have this new dynamic. And oh my goodness, it is one of the most blessed experiences. It is the most blessed experience that I have been able to experience. To see one of my children come up to me and give me a big hug. You know, they don't judge me. They, daddy, daddy, you this, you're that. No, they don't do any of that. I mean, it's like, oh, look, we love you unconditionally. It doesn't matter. We just love you. This is the highest expression of love. And that's what children represent. And yet, if you think about it, what children represent in them, you look at a baby. My goodness, my youngest son, he's almost 2. So I'm missing him being a little toddler or just being a little baby who can't do anything. Now he gets up, he goes and he does stuff. I miss all that stuff. But to hold that baby in your arm and that baby is just looking back at you and it's just pure love. Yeah. There's something about that. See, if you haven't experienced that, you don't know what that is. And you may think that love is just loving yourself or that love is somehow just something that you find in a relationship or someone else has to love you. No, it's about recognizing that when you get to that point, when it becomes about creating life, that the type of love that you experience because of this creation while you're holding it, and then the type of love that you must give now, you realize what it's all about. It is a miracle in essence. Now, part of this, again, is collective growth. We have to be holistic in where we're going as a couple, which gets to a collective goal, and that's the third thing. This is to say that in any relationship, you have to have a collective goal. See, and everything that you do must fit within that goal. Okay, so I can tell you, like right now, like my wife and I, some of our goals, and sometimes it's lesser goals, but then there's the ultimate goals. Okay, some of our goals in general are, we want to make sure that our children are raised by us. We want to make sure that our children are fed by us. We want to feed them the best food that we possibly can. Okay, some of our goals, we want to make sure that, for instance, for me, my sons must come into manhood at an early age. They don't have to get to like 28 years old like me and then finally fumble my way into manhood. No, it can be done when they're 16. It can be done when they're 18. Why not? Mm-hmm. Okay. Another example, one of my primary goals as a father is to ensure that my daughters are not sexually molested. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? See, a lot of us men, we got to understand our worth and our value. We're supposed to be the front line of defense, not just for our daughters, but for our wives too. Mm-hmm. But that's one of my primary responsibilities. That's one of my primary goals. And you think my wife is on board with that? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's a collective goal. I mean, we can go on and on and on. My wife and I, we want to be able to do more to help people. We do live video streams, we do radio shows, we write books. My wife, she's about to be launching her website. She's going to have online courses for women so that they can deal with their self-esteem, all this stuff. Because my wife, what she's been through, it's miraculous that she is who she is today. She is a miracle in and of itself. We have these collective goals. We're working. We want to have a healing center someday. A facility where people can come. I can do personal consultations with people, and she can do her massage therapy, and we can have products and services provided there at the Healing Center. And then we want our children to learn this business. We want to prepare them so they can do and run this business themselves. It'll be a family thing. You see what I'm saying? And each one of their talents, they can use their talents to fit within that. And if they feel like they need to move beyond that at a certain point, that's great. But we want to teach you business. We want to teach you how to be an entrepreneur. These are collective goals that my wife and we have in mind. See, when you have collective goals that are set within the scope of your family, it's so natural and normal to experience a positive male-female relationship. Again, male-female relationship, it's really a cosmic order representing itself in physical form here on planet Earth. It is the most natural thing. In point of fact, male-female relationship is what allows us to exist as biological entities that we call the human being. Without male-female relationships, none of us will exist. So therefore, if that is the truth, and that is the truth, we have to take care of our orientation as it relates to male-female relationships. In other words, we have to approach it holistically with this wholeness principle. We have to always have in mind collective growth. We grow as individuals, even while we're not in male-female relationships, but then we grow collectively, meaning once we're in a male-female relationship, this allows us to experience different levels of love and express different levels of love. And then, of course, when our progeny, when we create children, this is the ultimate form. And that, too, is an aspect of collective growth, because now my family, my wife and I, it's not just my wife and I, it's my wife and I and our 5 children. We are growing collectively. And that's what I think a lot of people, when they see us, they see the pictures, they say, wait a minute, there's something about them. It's like they're one whole. Yes, we are one whole. That's because we are involved in this collective growth and we have a collective goal. Those are 3 fundamental things I think are important, right? And there's other things too, like honesty, sincerity, making commitments and keeping your word, these kinds of things too. But ultimately, in terms of the structure of positive male-female relationship, you have to have this sense of wholeness, meaning that there is nothing that you're going to do to harm your mate. For you men out there, you got to be very clear on this, because as a masculine being, your primary responsibility is to protect all that is good in the cosmos.
That's right.
Wow, think about that. I'm not saying just here on planet Earth. I'm talking about in the cosmos as a masculine being. Therefore, there should never be anything that you do unto anyone else to harm them. So this means that if you're in a relationship, you never harm your mate. You don't cause any kind of stress, any kind of strife. You don't bring any drama, oh baby mama drama. You don't do any of that. You don't curse her. You don't call her bitch. You don't do any of that. Why? Because in the first place, you recognize as a masculine being that your job is to protect all that is good. And then in the second place, you recognize that the woman is that which gave you life.
That's right.
See, this is what I mean by the wholeness principle, having a different orientation. You don't perceive women to be outside of yourself. You perceive women to be part of you. In fact, it is through a woman through which you came. Yeah. So this is what I mean. Also, collective growth, you have to have that in order. You have to have this sense of collectivism, meaning that, okay, as an example, because I've been talking about this on Metamorphosis, we don't have these exclusive terms like my wife and I. We don't have these exclusive terms like that's my money, that's my house, that's my car, that's my bed, that's my children. We don't do that. No, it's collective, okay? Yeah. And then, of course, the lasting collective goal, you have to have a goal. And if the goal is placed within the scope of a male-female relationship or a family, you can never go wrong, because everything that you do will be in line with what needs to be done for that family. And in that sense, that provides the fertile ground through which an individual can materialize a long-standing male-female relationship and ultimately, if they so choose, create a family institution that thrives indefinitely.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, I mean, this is going to take quite a bit, because it's about stripping down all these illusions that we have of each other as males and female. Because we do in reality see each other as certain objects. Like with the films, again, are perfect examples of programming that into our subconscious mind, that then we act on it consciously. I mean, we have films like back in the day, like Karate Kid, when he wins the tournament, at the end of it, he gets a prize, and that prize is a woman. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's many other films as well, as well, Lenon. Iron Man is another one of the most recent ones. Avatar is another one again, isn't it? Where he gets the woman at the end.
Yes, and part of it is that the woman is the trophy.
Yeah,
and that's the objectification of it.
That's right.
Objectified one. And you see that in all the, most of the films, especially the action films. That's really what it comes down to. In the end, they win, and then they beat the bad guy, and they get the woman.
That's right. That's right.
Reminds me of that film Predator. That was one of my favorite films growing up, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Predator, and that's precisely what happens at the end of that. No context of a relationship per se or any kind of care or for the other person, but in the end, the action hero always gets the woman. Well, that's the objectification. And in Karate Kid, you win a tournament, you get a woman. You may get a trophy too, but the trophy is actually symbolic of representation of a woman. What happens is it becomes very difficult to perceive women as having true intrinsic value realistically when they are put within the scope of being a trophy to be won.
That's
and you know,
right.
sexism is predicated on this notion that women are objects, and that and then you go through these ritualistic practices in order to win or to gain or to dominate or to control or to have that object. Well, that's not going to, again, I always ask the question, always put it in context. Does that mentality, does that orientation facilitate a positive male-female relationship? And the answer is no.
And that also has an impact on how we as men view and treat women.
Yeah.
Because if we just see them as an object, as a trophy, we can do what we like with the trophy and an object, really, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that that's something that takes place oftentimes, that if you don't perceive see, again, this goes back to what? The wholeness principle.
Mm-hmm.
If you see yourself as being part of the whole, right, and you see your mate as being part of you, then you're not going to harm your mate. But if you see it as something that is outside of you, you see it as something that is just an object, then you can go ahead and do whatever you want to it, or you can do anything that you want to outside of it, meaning that you don't see it as part of yourself, so that you can go about the process of having sexual intercourse with other women, or participate in other relationships, or quote unquote cheating, because you don't perceive that individual, that woman, as being part of you holistically. Yeah. So that's very true. That the programming runs very deep.
Yeah, and it's quite poignant that we're talking about relationships today, because in our circle here, we've had a lot of women, especially, coming to us who have been in abusive relationships, and they're trying to get out of them abusive relationships. And there seems to be a pattern, whether it's physical abuse or emotional abuse and so forth, and there seems to be a pattern happening, and at all ages as well, isn't it? Isn't it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's quite sad actually. Really sad.
But then you look at it and from another perspective of women going for a certain archetype, a certain character. Also, and that again is from programming again, isn't it, Lenon?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a saying. What is that saying, baby? My wife, she's bringing me some tea. Thank you. What's that saying? Good boys finish
last, isn't it? Nice guys finish last.
Yeah, nice guys finish last. Right? That's programming, right? And a lot of people and a lot of women may believe that too to be the case. My wife, is that true, baby? Okay, because I know that I'm a good person, and I put that I have right here, this fine mammoth camel. Okay, she's laughing. And in this sense, I remember someone had said before I get to that point that you just made. I remember someone had said, if you lived in ancient times, talking about me, and in particular areas around the world, you would be considered to be the most wealthy man in a particular region. And what they were saying, it's not material, meaning financial. Right, because my wife and I, we're not at that point by any stretch of the imagination. We're slowly working there. We're studying finance, and we're studying money, and all this kind of stuff, monetary system, all this stuff. But what the person was illustrating was it's a matter of our orientation in society. That there was a point in particular areas around the world where society viewed abundance as being reflective of your family. Is your family being taken care of? Is your children being taken care of? Is your wife being taken care of? If so, then you are a wealthy man. You see, that's a totally different orientation. But getting back to what you were saying, these archetypes that we receive, because I think this goes back to something I wanted to point out earlier. And yes, there are particular archetypes that women have been led to find to be intriguing. Okay, and they may become attracted to them. And then you see the pattern run itself out. See, that's one thing I do in personal consultations is I like to go back and go through a person's history, meaning let's go back and look at your relationship history. And let's look for any patterns. And patterns always emerge. There's always certain patterns that emerges every single time without fail. And one of the patterns may be that they have been in relationships consistently wherein they were being abused on different levels. Okay, this could be sexual abuse, meaning that they were being forced to participate in sexual intercourse against their will. This can be physical abuse, where they were being brutalized physically by their mate or by their spouse. And again, there's a succession of relationships where you see this pattern emerging. Emotional abuse, maybe the male is emotionally detached from her, and he has no connection to her emotionally. Verbal abuse? That's another huge one, and you see this play itself out. Part of the reason why I'm bringing this up is because that's an archetype. It's an archetype of a particular type of male that some women are programmed to perceive to be desirable, and they become attracted. And a lot of this programming comes from when we were young. Let me give an example. If we go back to the 60s, in the pimp programming that we got in black exploitation films. And as an example, Shaft, you know, a lot of these films, even though people think that these are heroes, really what they represent is pimps, you know, and that's why later on when you get into rap music, what you find is the same verbiage, because really rap music was black exploitation films, and the archetypes presented therein were the precursors to that which was presented within rap music. Okay, people got to be very clear about this. That's why the language is the same, bitches and hoes. Okay, this is a funneling down of a particular orientation towards women that we find in black exploitation films and before, but it's funneled into different entertainment streams. So it can come in films, it can come in television shows, it can come in the form of music. The point being is that these archetypes that we receive in the 60s of black exploitation, also these other dynamics, you know, in terms of the 60s where, you know, the black militant, this also becomes a program as if just by being a black militant that makes you an honorable man. No, not by any stretch of the imagination. I cannot tell you how many people that I have met who were into this quote unquote militancy who were dysfunctional as it relates to being a man. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You want to talk about black power, and yet you can't establish and maintain a positive male-female relationship. Get the hell out of my face. Yeah. Okay, you see what I'm saying here? That the programming, it gives us different illusions, different archetypes that we grab. But how many archetypes do we get where it is clear that this is what it means to be a man, to be in service to women, to be in service to your mate, to take care of your children, to provide for them, to protect them, to love them, to make sure that nothing happens to them and that you are not doing damage onto them, whether that's physical, psychological, emotional, sexual, etc. So even in the 60s, in terms of the black exploitation films, the programming was so deep because rarely did you see and I haven't seen, because I actually was going to do a whole documentary film where I was going to analyze black exploitation films, the major ones. I think I had like 12 that I was going to analyze, but at a certain point I said I don't even want to deal with this because in particular, black people's attachment here in the United States of America to these archetypes, it is so extreme because they have been led to identify so exclusively with these archetypes that when you begin to show and provide them with an analysis as to the degraded quality of these archetypes, black folk will take offense. They get very upset. Okay, and I've had this experience time and time again, so I decided not to do that particular documentary film. But the point being was that when I began to look at these black exploitation films, I could not find any positive representation of an honorable man who was handling his business, taking care of his children, taking care of his family, was committed to one woman. In particular, in most of these films, the hero archetype, who is a black male, he has many women. Yeah. And in the movies, he goes to different places, different homes. He has sex with them. He goes to the next one, et cetera, and et cetera. I mean, and this is the programming that people get.
Black Dynamite is one of the film, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's a whole list of them. Shaft is another one I was going to do. The Mac, that was another one. That was an outlandish one. There was another one, too, where the opening scene is a little boy being molested by a woman. And the little boy is a little black boy, and the black woman, a grown woman, is actually having sex with him. And they show it. I mean, it's graphic. I couldn't believe it. I was like, how could this be? So this child is being molested in essence. I can't remember what it was called. Big black Mamba or something like that. That's Kobe Bryant. I can't think of the name right now. But I was so amazed by the level of disrespect of how can I put this? I was amazed by the level of devolution that was presented within these particular films, and in particular as it relates to male-female relationships. So the point being, when we look at the 60s and the pimp programming, it provided many individuals with an opportunity and a reason, and really it provided people with a program wherein they could perceive this behavior pattern of disrespecting women, dishonoring women, abusing women as being normalized. Now, just as young males who were seeking at that time to find someone that they can identify with, remember we talked about this in the beginning, the externalization of identity, it also functioned as a program for women who saw this, and they began to normalize that behavior pattern in men. Because they've seen it over and over again, and these are popular films, right? The Mac, Shaft, etc. These are popular films. Again, they see it over and over again, and many people, they go watch it over and they talk about it with their friends, and this becomes social programming. This is social engineering, and now they begin to normalize these behavior patterns. Yeah. Okay? Same thing. Now let's move to other films like Boys in the Hood, Friday. What was another one? Menace to Society. Yeah. Tyler Perry films, Medea. You can look at those. I mean, you rarely do. I mean, do we see any positive male-female relationships? How are the men behaving? Many of those males, they behave like effeminate males who are not strong, who are not committed to their relationship. They're always having problems. How are you going to be grown people up on the film and you always have them? That's ridiculous because you are stuck in a state of arrested development. Yeah. So why is the individuals who are stuck in the state of arrested development, these are the individuals who put movies out? Yeah, because it functions as programming for other people so that they too can be stuck in a state of arrested development. Other films like Jungle Fever, Do the Right Thing, Think Like a Man, Act Like a Woman, whatever that foolishness is. But the point being is that the bad boy archetype, this notion that good men finish last or what have you.
Nice guys finish last, yeah.
Yeah, this is programming, and the truth is that, because what it tells a young male is, look, don't be honorable, because if you do, you're going to finish last. Yeah. But then it also tells women that, okay, if you get someone who is good to you, then you're going to finish last too, because he's going to finish last. Yeah, yeah. See, you see the programming here. And so when we,
sorry, Lenon, it started a lot in the in cartoons as well. I mean, I was going through a few cartoons the other day, like Lady and the Tramp, Robin Hood, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, where the guy was like Aladdin was a thief, wasn't he? And he became a good guy. And then he got the girl. Well, he got the girl because he was a bad guy, really. Same with Tangled, the thief, again, became the good guy, and he got the got the guy. Yeah.
I don't really watch cartoons, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. And what was the one you said, the Disney film, Aladdin? You're absolutely right about that, because the reason why she found him to be attractive was because he was quite sly. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And she wasn't used to that because she was living in the palace. Mm-hmm. She was someone who basically she comes from upper society, right? The upper levels, or in other words, she's from high society. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And here he is. He's a street rat. That's what they call him. Well, that's what we call hood rats. Okay, it's the same dynamic. It's the same thing presented nowadays, right? These are people who live in the hood. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? These are those black males, and the woman, even if you have things going on for you as a woman, excuse me, you become attracted to him because he's sly. He has street smarts. Yeah. See what I'm saying? He's manipulative. He can get things and he can steal things easily, and he's going to win. And in the end, he wins her, right? He wins her heart. He wins her, right? This is the program that we receive. Well, what's interesting is that, for instance, the movies like Boys in the Hood, when I was growing up, this began to normalize particular behavior patterns in young males. And young females began to believe that would be the model or the archetype to which they should be attracted to, right? And there were, and there still are, there are women who believe that, okay, look, I have me a hood rat, I got me someone from the hood, and they take it as a badge of honor. Why you believe? And really, what they're talking about is not just a location; it's really a mentality. This person has a particular mentality, and he's the quote unquote bad boy, and I'm attracted to that because it's exciting. And I've gotten all this programming where it was exciting, to have this. And these films make it exciting, and these television shows make it exciting. Yes, even these Disney cartoons make it exciting. But the point being is that it doesn't deal with an intellectual process where we put it all in context. Does this bad boy archetype, by interacting with him, by being in a relationship with him, does this facilitate a long-standing positive relationship? And the answer is no. So people have to put it in context. Despite the programming, despite the matrix, if you put it in context, you'll be adequately equipped to make the appropriate decision. Yeah. But most of us, because we operate based upon subconscious programming and subliminal messages that have been programmed to our subconscious mind, we don't take an intellectual approach, and then we make choices, and those choices become programs. In other words, the choices are made over and over again, the same types of choices, and then you look at someone's relationship history and you see the same pattern emerging over and over again.
That's right. Do you think, Lenon, that women, because they're attracted to these bad guys, do you think maybe that they're in some sort of competition themselves to try and fix that bad guy and turn him into a good guy?
Yes, that's something that comes up a lot. And that part of it is the nurturing quality inherent in women, which must be respected, and I appreciate and I admire. Indeed. But another thing, I think that it has to do with the arrested development in many young males. And there are women who believe, and it's a social program, I think, that has been perpetuated over time. And it's global, too, especially for quote-unquote black women. And that is that in the absence of having honorable men to raise young boys into men, many women and mothers, they've had to do that themselves. And so that program is passed down to other women where they believe that, okay, now it's my job to make him into a man, even though he's your peer, meaning that he's of your age. I'm going to make him into a man. So I'm going to work with him, you know. I'm going to put up with this. I'm going to put up with that. And ultimately, I'm going to change him. And I want to make this point that there's nothing that a woman can do to change a man. And there's nothing that a man can do to change a woman.
That's right.
True change comes from one's internal motivation to create change. And this is to say that a woman, any woman out there, any man for that matter, you can make the choice. Okay, in terms of who I'm going to be dealing with, are they self-motivated to improve upon themselves? Or is it something where, and I am going to have the responsibility of improving upon them? See, and if you make that choice, what you'll do is you'll maximize the probability of experiencing a positive male-female relationship, because now what are we doing? It's collective growth. See, don't get it twisted. Collective growth doesn't mean that you make the other person grow, because many people think they can do that. What that means is that each individual, as I said before, they come from a place where they are already working on themselves, and they are aspiring to becoming something greater. And therefore, when they get together, when they establish a relationship, now they begin to grow together. Okay, but it's not that one individual changes the other, because you cannot do that. Many women believe that they can do that, and so they deal with young males who are in a state of arrested development, who are operating like boys. They keep working with them, and they have all these problems. Well, there's a reason why, because you're not dealing with a man. And they believe that somehow, superwoman complex, that they're going to change him. They're going to mold him. They're going to make him be what they need him to be. No, if he's not already in line with what you need him to be, and if he's not making the effort himself based upon his own volition, meaning he is already inspired and self-motivated to do it, then don't deal with him.
Yeah. And ultimately, I mean, it ends up in heartache for these women. Yes. In many cases, and I think that it can happen both. It can go both ways, meaning a man feels like he's going to. But in most cases, it's a dynamic wherein we see women trying to work with young males to try to make them into men. And again, I think it has to do with a long-standing programming that we receive in the nurturing quality inherent in women, which again I honor and I appreciate. Definitely. But the idea is that nurturing quality isn't the. I mean, the expression of that nurturing quality should not be expressed unto the man as if he is a boy. Because that nurturing quality of trying to assist a young boy or a young girl, that is reserved for children. You see, a lot of women, they get it twisted. They believe that nurturing quality to that degree, meaning that they want to try to make them into something. No, that's something that you provide for your children, not for your mate. You still nurture your mate, but he must be self-motivated. So you don't nurture him in the same way that you nurture your children. And what has happened is a lot of women have mixed that up. They begin to think that, no, they begin to perceive their mate to be like their child. No, that you can't have a long-standing positive male-female relationship if you're dealing with someone who is like a boy and you're treating, and there's women who do this, right? They'll pay the male's rent. They'll take care of him. They'll feed him. The same things that they even buy him clothes. This is what I want you to wear. They may even dress him. I mean, I've done consultations with women. They tell their mates, you need to go take a shower. Go clean yourself up. I mean, if the male is not self-motivated to do that, and he's stuck in I mean, I don't even have to tell my young 8, 9-year-old that nowadays. I mean, he does that himself. I mean, that's what I mean. A lot of women have gotten that twisted. Don't betray your nurturing quality, which is so blessed and so appreciated. Don't betray it by using it and extending it onto a grown male, and use it in such a way to where you're treating him like a boy and you're trying to nurture him into manhood, because that's a disrespect as to the quality and power of that nurturing quality. Exactly. The man must be a man if he is going to be in service to you. If he's a boy, he will not be in service to you. Exactly. And he will abuse that, and he often does and has abused that nurturing aspect from a woman, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, yes, I've seen it time and time again. Even myself in a past relationship, do you know what I mean? When I was sort of asleep, if you like, I've done that. So I've had to reevaluate myself in terms of knowing how to treat a woman. Do you know what I mean? As I said at the top of the show, I've been in failed relationships myself, but having analysed things, I had a critical analysis of myself, and just going around in general and talking to different people about their experiences, it has opened my eyes up to try and re-identify who I am as a human being, as a male, and what I can give in a relationship to a complementary partner. So when she comes, then, you know what I mean, she knows that she's going to have a blast. We're going to be like 2 atoms exploding, you know what I'm saying? So if she's out there, I'm here, man. So, you know what I'm saying?
Well, the most important thing is that you come to the realization that there are changes that need to be made.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And that's what I mean by you're self-motivated in that sense. And every man, we have to be self-motivated. We have to, someone doesn't have to get us to do things. We have to be motivated to do it ourselves. And when we get to that point, because the one thing I talk about in my lecture series for men, this idea that really what masculinity and manhood is about this continued pursuit of becoming something greater.
Yeah.
And I like to put it in the scope of the penis itself, because if you look at how the penis operates, for instance, the penis can be flaccid, meaning that it can be unerect or not erect, but then at a certain point it can become erect. And in order for it to become erect, there has to be blood flow. And this means that a direction of a flow of energy has to be projected towards that area. Okay. Now I want to explain this to people. This to say, as an example, that in order for a man to have sexual intercourse with a woman, his penis must be erect. If it's not erect, he will not be able to have sexual intercourse with a woman. So in other words, his penis has to become what? It has to become greater. Okay. As another example, so what this means is that as a man, you have to become greater just to get to a point where you're able to even have sexual intercourse. Okay. Now this analogy is in the terms of the penis. It can also be applied to as a man, period. That in order to be in the presence of a woman, you must be committed to becoming something greater. You can't be flaccid. You can't be effeminate. You see what I'm saying? You can't operate like a boy, because that's a boy operates as symbolically speaking. That's no different than a flaccid penis. You see, you have to become something greater. As an example, every single day we're reminded of this as men. When we wake up in the morning and our penis is erect, this assumes that your penis is functioning properly. And for you women, if you don't know this is something that happens every single morning. It's natural. When you wake up in the morning, you have an erect penis. Yeah. And it's not that you've had any kind of sexual experience or that because you just were asleep. You're just waking up and, oh, my penis is erect. Yeah. Okay? Every single day, we are given a physiological, if you will, reminder of our capacity to become something greater.
That's right.
You see, just like women, y'all are given like this monthly cycle to remind you of your capacity to create life and to duplicate life, this blessed ability through your womb. Well, men, we are given this every single day. We just don't think about it that way, but this is the truth. That every single day we're given this indicator, this physical indicator that we have the capacity to become something greater. Well, this, just as the penis, every single morning we're reminded, this is something that we can internalize as a intellectual process, wherein we recognize the importance and the value of us refining our internal conditions so that we can be greater, so that we can be of greater service to women. So this is what I'm saying, that as a man, brother, it's honorable that you have identified that in the past you have had failures and there's reasons why, and you're identifying the reasons why, and then you're going through the process of correcting. Well, this is no different than you now standing erect as a man. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? You've made a commitment. See, any man out there, and for you women out there, you have to be clear about this. Instead of accepting the archetypes of the devolved archetypes of males, no, you want a man who is self-motivated and he's committed to his own refinement. See, this is what masculinity and manhood is. See, masculinity is this notion. It's not like, okay, I go out and I drink alcohol, I go hang out with bitches and hoes, and I listen to rap music all day, I grab my balls, I watch sports all day, and I do all these kinds of things. No, that's not what manhood and masculinity. Manhood and masculinity is a sacred institution wherein a male recognizes the value of him improving upon himself. And he does it not just for himself, he does it for his potential mate, or if he's already in a relationship, he's doing it for his mate. And if he's having children and he plans on, he's doing it for his children. And that's what I mean. When men can get to a point where they can take, like you're doing, you're taking an intellectual approach. Okay, what are the behavior patterns that I've engaged in the past that were dysfunctional? What are the thoughts that I had that were dysfunctional? You begin that process. What are the words that I've said in the past that were dysfunctional? You go through that process. Well, now you're preparing yourself for something greater. You see, and that's what, when we talk about a man being an honorable man, he is standing erect. Okay. And it's not something that he does just in the morning. It's something that he's now living every single day, all throughout the day. And this is something that all men can do. See, men, part of the problem is that the archetypes have been so devolved that we have been sold on. I mean, in other words, what we have been led to believe that what we can become so devolved that we don't perceive our power as men. So if we don't perceive our power as men, how are we going to see ourselves, contextually speaking, how are we going to see ourselves as being valuable cogs within a positive male-female relationship? There's a lot of men who can't even perceive themselves as being worthy of a positive male-female relationship. And that's why when you begin to refine yourself and your internal condition, you begin to raise your value. You raise your self-esteem. You raise your self-worth. And then you can begin to perceive yourself. You know what? I can be in a relationship and I can function as an honorable man. I can be a committed husband. I can be a committed father to my children. That is a very empowered place to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Most definitely. And the when he talks about we having an erection in the morning, it's the resurrection, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. And see, what that means is every single day we're afforded with an opportunity to become even greater.
That's right.
And even if you fail on part of that day, it's okay. You got another day to give it a chance and give it another go.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be self-motivated as men. And you can't buy into these programs that we got from like Good Times and the Jeffersons and all these devolved versions of, no, I mean, you know, the pimp programming and the, you know, bitches ain't nothing but hoes and tricks and the, you know, the rap music and boys in the hood. If you buy into that stuff, you're not going to perceive every single day affords us with a new opportunity, a resurrection, if you will, to be able to continue in this process of personal growth, internal refinement. See, and I'm gonna tell you all, you men out there who are listening to this, any woman who is of sound mind and who is connected to her creativity, her spirituality, and it takes an intellectual approach, okay, and is connected to her divinity, when she sees a man who is committed to refining himself, she honors him.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a basic premise that we will find on planet Earth. That if you are committed to refining yourself every single day, that doesn't mean that she's trying to change you or that she's trying to inspire you to change. No, that you as a man, you have what I call testicular fortitude. You have the balls to every single day get up and refine your damn self. When you get to that point, you will find that women will respect you. Until that, they will see you as boys. And if they perceive you as boys, you will be treated as boys. And you cannot expect to function as a man if you're being perceived as a boy or if you're operating as a boy. So if you men out there, if you want to establish a positive male-female relationship, you must deal with your ascension into manhood. And that is a continued process every single day. Grow the balls to do the work. Can't nobody do it for you. And guess what? The fact that you have the balls and the fact that every single morning that you're reminded of your power because your penis is erect, this proves that it can be done. So embrace your power and refine yourself.
Yeah. Most
Rosin, are you there?
Most can
Okay. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure.
No, I was actually just like taking in everything that you were saying, Lenon.
Mm-hmm.
And also like in that, like doing a bit of self-reflection as well, definitely. Of like my relationship, not just in terms of like, well, I'm not in a relationship right now, but my relationships with just people in general. So yeah, and how that can basically affect my life and everything.
Because that's what it begins with as well, isn't it? With friendships and so forth. Because if we can have good relations within friends, then the relationships themselves can also flourish.
Exactly.
It's about respecting each other as human beings on a general scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that goes back to, remember I was talking about how relationships, initially we should learn to love ourselves, and then once we get to a certain point of self-love, then we can begin to express that within the context of a male-female relationship, and then once we express that within the context of a male-female relationship, which is a higher level of love, then we express that amongst children. Well, prior to all that, it comes back to our friendships.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How do we relate to other people in the first place? These are not intimate relationships per se, but these are just friendships. And you'll find that the quality of friendships that people have is directly related to their level of self-esteem. You know, all relationships, and I say this in my lectures, all relationships are based upon the value that you place upon yourself in the first place. So we can, whether you look at it in terms of relationships, male-female relationships, or in a family institution, husband and wife, etc., or if you look at it in terms of your friendships, you can get an idea in terms of where a person is at, where their self-esteem is at, based upon the quality of those friendships. So that's another area that we have to be clear on. And again, the personal reflection, and that's such an important aspect of this. Again, the matrix is designed to keep us moving. Yeah. The matrix is designed to keep us, just grinding, just go forward, full force, 110% all the time. We don't really have much time to reflect. So even in relationships, whether it's intimate or otherwise, we don't have time to reflect and ask the question, what was the quality of that relationship? Why did it fail? What was it that I did? What was it that they did? What could I have done better? What could they have done? What do I want next time? Yeah. What is it that I want next time that's greater than this? We don't have time for that. At least that's the system is designed so that we don't have time. But what we can do is we can develop the internal power that will allow us to have more power than the system, to where we can actually begin to take the time to think about these things. And the personal reflection is key. You know, if you're going to succeed at something, you're going to have to take some time to think about that which you wish to succeed in. And if you failed in it and you're not given the time to kind of analyze what the failure was all about, then you're going to fail again, because you're going to repeat the pattern over and over again. But if you have the time and you have the let's say, internal power to take the time to begin to analyze, you know, and to take a critical analysis of a past experience, then you will begin to develop the let's call this a new groundwork or a new paradigm through which you can experience something greater. But the system itself is not designed that way. So that's why we have to take the time, and we got to figure out a way to take the time so that we can afford ourselves with an opportunity to do that. The same thing applies with what my wife and I are doing in terms of our family institution. The system does not support this. Okay, and when I say the system, I'm talking about the dominant system, okay? Because there's also subsystems that do support it. There's people all around the world who are supportive of us. They come to our live video streams, they buy our products, etc. I'm talking about the dominant system.
The mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. The mainstream system is not designed to support what we are doing, but we are going to do it because we recognize that this it's not, let me just say this, that what we're doing is not just about us. You know, my wife and I, it's not about our children. I mean, it is, but it's not totally about that. It's really about the universe having an opportunity to express a greater possibility to the human species, a possibility that the system itself does not perpetuate.
That's right.
You see, and that's why our investment, though we struggle financially, what have you, and I don't believe this is going to be long term. I think the things have already begun to turn around. I know that they are, and I know that they're going to be getting better for us. But even now, we recognize that it's not so much about us. My wife and I, we've had this conversation. You know, it's okay. We can struggle with particular financial issues, with material things. That's okay. We can do that for as long as necessary, because we know that it's going to come back around. That's just a natural law in the universe. But let's be clear that it's not just about us, right? It's about this possibility that the universe wishes for humanity to see, and you have a committed husband and a committed father raising 5 children. They're home birthing their children. They're educating their children at home. They're feeding their children themselves and feeding them healthy as they possibly can. They're loving their children. This has to be presented to the world. That's and right. It's not that everyone has to become this, but the model, the archetype must be presented as a possibility. And so that's why my wife and our investment is not just about us. It's really about the universe being able to express through us a greater possibility in male-female relationships, a greater possibility in family institutions, a greater possibility in terms of a man, an honorable man, a woman, an honorable woman. And that's why we do what we do, you know, and we're very clear. And I want to say this too, that positive relationships, anyone, doesn't matter what your past experience has been. Again, going back to what we started with the show, I grew up in a household that was very traumatic, a lot of abuse, drug addiction, alcoholism, etc. I've seen it all. Okay, there's stories I can tell you that many people, they'd be like, what? You know, are you serious? Okay, I've seen it. My wife, same thing. She has stories to tell and all of her experience. I mean, I'm so amazed at her strength and her power to be who she is today, regardless of what she has experienced throughout her life. The point being is that any of us, doesn't matter what you've been through, doesn't matter what your past programming is, doesn't matter what the archetypes are or were that you have aspired towards in your life, you have the internal power to establish and maintain a positive male-female relationship. What it really comes down to is a choice. Yeah. And the choice is between whether or not you're going to continue to refine your internal condition or whether or not you're going to settle. That's right. And what I want to encourage all you all, men and women, is never settle, because when you settle, you get what you already have. And if you're unhappy with what you already have, you got to do something different. If you want to win and you've been losing, you're going to have to do something different. What is it that is different? What is it that's life-changing? What is it that's transforming your reality? What is it that will transform your reality? The personal refinement, where you refine your thoughts, your words, and actions, and you always put it within the context of a positive male from a relationship.
That's right. So, I mean, it's a case now of teaching the children and even adults to some degree, because they've been programmed as well as we've talked about. Is about teaching them how to reprogram or deprogram, and it's the stripping of those illusions which could cause destructive patterns in their life, which they would have to try to get to grips with, I believe, because what we've been taught or conditioned to think and to be is coming from many different areas, many different aspects, not just the education system, but also from government institutions, children's homes, the health system, the food industry, the TV, in general society, and it's these things that they've got to reprogram. And I don't know if you've, I'm sure you've come across Alan Watts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
He said that in the 1960s, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, or the Council of Foreign Relations as we know it, designed a certain culture to what people will be following. Did you hear about that? Did you come across one of his videos, what he did on that one?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, he basically said that the Council of Foreign Relations were designing a model for individuals to follow, and they put it in their TV programs, as we talked about earlier, in their movies, basically from Hollywood. And he broke down the actual word Hollywood, that the wand is the holly, the wood, Hollywood. It's said to be from the wood of the holly tree. Mm-hmm. And Mickey Mouse, he often played the role of the magician in the early cartoons in Disney, and the wand was a 5-pointed star, which represents the earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. So there's a lot of subliminal content in that as well, which Alan Watts referred to.
Yes, and I'm familiar with the Hollywood. The individual that I first heard speak about that was Jordan Maxwell.
That's right. Yeah.
That's going back, I don't know, a couple of decades ago. But yeah, that's precisely the reason why Disney in and of itself, it always uses that phrase, the magic of Disney.
Yeah.
Because it's really about it's what people would call like casting spells, but it's a form of social engineering, and that's what we're getting at when think tanks they get together and they develop what the trends are, and again the trends can be within society, how people dress, how people begin to think, how they relate to each other. The trends can also be financial trends. That's another thing I've been really researching recently, that there are think tanks, and this is just groups of individuals who dictate where particular progressions are going to take place, or depressions are going to take place in particular areas of our lives. And this includes male-female relationships. So we can look at the devolution of male-female relationships and the I guess we can say the programming. It's present in the programming over time. One of the things that happens in Disney is that Disney, and I talked about this inside one of my films, the early works of Walt Disney, the foundation of a pedophilic institution, to a large degree, Disney functions as social engineering to cause people to begin to consider the sexualization of children, what people call pedophilia or pederasty. Okay, but there has to be someone or a group of people who begin to think on those lines. So we're going to put out in mass, because that's a controlled network. And for instance, I can't just do a movie and have it on HBO. You know what I'm saying? You can't just do a documentary and have it all over in movie theaters. It's a controlled institution. And this is to say that what is allowed to come out is always going to be in line with a particular agenda, okay? And some people may say that the agenda is about making money, but what I would propose is that, yeah, it's about making money, but I also believe, the deeper thing is that they create money out of thin air, so that can't just be it. It's also about social engineering. In other words, changing how people think within society, how they behave in society, changing social norms within society. And that includes how we perceive male-female relationships. I think that is what Alan Watt is speaking about there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot to actually think about. I think I hope the viewers who've listened to this show today definitely intake a lot of this in, because there's a lot of things that I learned today there's things that I was actually, this whole week I've been asking a lot of questions, and yourself with Haroon, and a lot of it is a lot of the questions have been answered today. I had a bunch of questions for you, Lenon, but you just answered all of them without me having to ask them.
I'm sorry. I run my mouth. I apologize.
No, it's good. It's good.
If there's any questions I missed, y'all can have me back, and you can ask me particular questions, Rosalind. I'm sorry.
No, you've answered all of them.
And this is why we like to have you on the show, because you come from the perspective of the actual programming, which is so important for people to gain an understanding of. Yeah. They have to understand that all that they think of today, all that they are today, is a result of programming. So it's a case of what you say in a lot of your videos is to create their own identity rather than an identity which has been subconsciously put on them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting because I've even heard people say, well, you know, you being an honorable man or you being a father, a committed husband, that's a program too. And I think about it and I say, well, look, you know, my approach is this, that until such time that I see me in media, I can't call it a program.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because I didn't experience it in my life, I can't call it a program. What I can say is that at a certain point in my life, I recognized that I was going to be the best man that I could be. I'm still working on myself, of course, and I was going to be a committed father. You know, I had a conversation with myself at a very early age. My mother, you know, being brutalized by my father, and I said, you know, there's no way that my wife is going to have the experience that my mother had. Yeah. That's not a program. That is a level of enlightenment.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So when we come from a place of enlightenment, what we're really doing is we are defining our own reality.
That's right.
We're defining our own identity. And I want us to be clear. I mean, you may not, you don't have to become me. You can be something greater than me. You can be something that you may perceive to be lesser than. And that's not even the point. The point is be the best that you can be. And that's not a program. Okay. What that is again, the commitment to one's internal refinement. Your penis reminds you of this every single day. If anything else, that's a program.
Yeah.
You know, in your own body tells you every single day when you wake up and you say, wow, my penis is a wreck. What's going on? Well, there's a reason why. You are being instructed by the cosmos. It's in your very DNA. It's in your body. It's saying, guess what? You can become something greater. That's the program. Now, in terms of you actualizing that, that is enlightenment. That is the pursuit of spirituality, what people call spirituality in this physical domain. That is the pursuit of the greater you. That's okay. Right. And if people want to call that a program, you can call it a program if you want. But I know one damn thing, my wife is benefiting because of it. My children are benefiting because of it. I'm benefiting because of it. And I'm sincerely hoping that other people who hear these words and listen to our live radio shows, live video streams, our documentary works, our books, etc., I hope that you too are benefiting from it. And in this sense, if the program, what people may perceive to be a program, is uplifting humanity, then so be it.
Fantastic, for real. And I hope people can benefit from it, especially, as you said, you're putting a program together. And when you do that, please let us know so we can actually use that program, because we'll be going into youth centres and schools, and because we often communicate with the youth as well, so and we like to pass on the right information to help them grow and help them to empower themselves. So I mean, once you're done with that, Lenon, please, I'd like you to share that with us.
Oh, yes. And one of the things I've been planning on doing for several years now is writing a book. I did a radio show, Visions of Manhood, years ago. We're going to bring that show back to soon, probably after April. But I plan on writing a book, and that's my brother calling me. I'm not calling him. It's interesting. He calls, you know, we talking about family, my childhood experience. He went through the same thing. My other brothers and sisters have four sisters. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, without saying too much, that you know the childhood experience, it really impacts people in profound ways, and it impacts their ability to experience positive male-female relationships. In my family, I would say, and when I say family, I'm not just talking about my brothers and sisters, my siblings. I'm talking about my extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, etc. Less than 9%. You know, to be honest with you, less than 5% are in what we would classify as being positive male-female relationships. That's a whole lot of people. You see what I'm saying? So again, I plan on writing a book to talk about, you know, my experiences as a child and how I've had to restructure my orientation, and then also recognize my power as a man, you know, that I can become something greater, regardless of what my father was, regardless of my childhood experience, regardless of the social programs, the social engineering, regardless of all of that, the movies, the television shows, the music, etc., that we all have the power to become something greater. I think that is the message I think most children need to hear, most young males need to hear, okay, regardless of what society says about you, you still have the power to become something greater. So when I get done with that book, you know, maybe, you know, sometime next year, I would think, because I have so many things lined up on my production schedule, I'll be sure to let you know and let everyone else know as well.
Please do then. So, and if you'd like to, before you go, share your links websites and where people can get your books from, and watch your videos, please share with the people, please, Lenon.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. Anyone interested in dealing with the media manipulation, I would say go to LenonHonorFilms.com. And when we get to the programming and movies, entertainment industry, Disney, I even have a lecture series. What is this? Hip hop, the hidden hand and degradation of black masculinity. All that type of work is there on Lenon Honor Films. On LenonHonor.com, that's where I'm dealing more with personal growth. So that's really getting into the things that we can begin to do internally to refine our internal conditions so that we can be of better service to humanity. So that means if you're a woman, you can be of better service. If you're a man, you can be of better service. Also, in terms of family institutions, my wife and I, we have Metamorphosis, Transforming Your Vision of Male-Female Relationships on Saturdays on LenonHonor.com. And on Sundays, which is today, we have Positive Relationships. That's a live video stream. And we talk about male-female relationships. We talk about family. We talk about diet. We talk about all kinds of things related to family. Also, if you're interested in any of my books, I have 2 books. I have Deep in the Garden of Consciousness, which deals with metaphysics and spirituality, what people call spirituality. You can find it on LenonHonor.com. I also have a book for young males and older males, too, for that matter, Writings for the Fathers of the World of Tomorrow and for the Women Who Love Them. And my wife, she also has a cookbook. It's the Native Style Cookbook. They have vegetarian, vegan, and raw recipes in there, so anyone who's interested in eating healthier foods, that's an awesome book. We also have other products. I do personal consultations on LenonHonor.com, so if you're interested in having a personal consultation with me, all the information is listed there on the website. And there's also a calendar there on LenonHonor.com for all of our upcoming radio shows, radio interviews, live video streams, and film premieres as well. That's pretty much it. I want to thank you, brother, so much, and Rosin, for having me again. I really enjoyed myself, and thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on again, and yes, we're going to grab you once again very soon.
Lenny, can I just ask one thing, right? You know, we're trying to get people, our guests, to like basically do a little jingle for us from the show.
Oh yeah.
So could you like do something for us, please? Like, hi, this is Lenon Honor, and you're on the Innervibe show.
Right now? Not right now. You'd have to re-record it, innit?
No, because it's recorded anyway.
Do you think you could do it now?
Well, I'll do one now, and then what I'll do is I'll record one here and send it to you.
Okay. Yeah, do it now.
You've been listening to Okay, let me try again, because I do this kind of stuff. Here we go. You've been listening to Innervibe Radio. This is Lenon Honor, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you, Lenon.
Thank you, Lenon. Please say hi to the family for me.
Yes.
I show much love to both y'all. Y'all take care.
Okay, wholeness and balance.
Bye, Lenon.
Bye.
All right, and peace.
Awesome.
Right, so brilliant. That was another brilliant show with Lenon Honor, talking about male and female relationships.
Yes, indeed.
And it's definitely made me start contemplating, and it's given me great insight, actually, as it always does.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's hope for us men yet, you know. Much hope.
Huh?
There's much hope yet.
Yeah, indeed,
I mean,
definitely.
it's about realising our misgivings and our misdemeanors towards women, and reevaluating them and resurrecting ourselves. You know, not just that erection in the morning, but the actual mental, emotional, and spiritual resurrection, which is needed in all of humanity, not just men, but women also, because we need to realise our true selves, our true power,
so basically,
and empower ourselves.
Yeah, we're not aiming for good times, we're aiming for great times.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Indeed. Okay, so we're going to play a tune and then come back and say ciao.
What you see when you looking at us? How's it affecting you on the inside?
When I tell you goodbye.
Abolitionists, street cities. You know, check me out. I throw my heart on my shoulder. What you see, what you get. Eyes glance at the direction, intricate dialect. Salt pouring from my face, even suns hang low before it's set. Like me, it's a mirror of my soul. My knees shake from the fact I'm
I'm 1 trillion years old. I saw the first in the middle, one thing left to know. Can you see it in my face? Can you see it as a whole? I can see it when I look at ya. Everything's wrong. Got holograms around, can't even keep a plan. Moving slow, must be stuck in the jungle quicksand. Get money, took land, what you see? Goddamn, God so loved the world, he gave a begotten rap. Break it down, what you see? Look at you, look at me. When you see me, I'm looking back. That's relativity, relative to me. So you, how's it gonna be? Forget the layers to that self, that mission to be free. There's so much to see, there's so much to be. That second, that cheap power, my destiny. It's a God I will be, a sorted, that's me. Look through the shell, come take a peek, my light beams. When you see me, what you thinking when you looking at me? You know, I think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie? I think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie?
Yo, when you see me through the looking glass of future, present, past tense, caught up in the sands as the clock ticks backwards. Am I the savage or the master of theatrics? Broad nose shot off, callous on a black fist. See me on another level, nameless, shapeless, ancient. Predates the language of the saint script. Cruising on a spaceship, caged in a slave ship. Stressing in the now on the Facebook pages. I may get your tunnel vision so tainted it's dangerous. So do you see me in the terms of the famous or the ancient shits? Pharaoh status or a merchant serving fragrance? Cause either way, the iris of silence remains patient when facing a nation indoctrinating continuations of fakeness upon your playlist. Replace the basic with the sacred. So when I ask you what you see, you stop saying the same
I
shit.
think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie? I think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie?
What do you see when you see me? Do you see someone who seems to be living freely? Who can see his dreams retrieved without being greedy and needing some sort of scheme conceived, a plot for receiving any props that I'm seeing? Or do you hate and take shots for no reason? Since I'm doing well, you're seeming like you're not, there's no meaning. Are you seeing me as an equal being, that we're both human? Or are you choosing to look down on me cause you're doing better financially, because you have a better job? You're bitter because you haven't ever had a clever thought. When you see me, it's seeming like you have never stopped to think before you talk, so maybe you better not. I think we'll be better off without you judging me. I can chill comfortably without your company, without a fucking thing. So when you see me, please save the drama for the magazines and TV
I
screens.
think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie? I think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie?
Yes, that was Intricate Dialect.
Bye.
Intricate Dialect.
Well, I mean, what's the song called?
You see me.
Okay.
Oh dear. Yes. I'd like to thank Lenon and Anna for coming on the show this evening. Any announcements, Roslyn Blue?
Yeah, if you want to check out, Lenon and Anna's been on the show previously, so if you want to check out those shows, have we uploaded them to the Innervibe show yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can check out.
Oh no, not on Innervibe now. They're on the other one, aren't they?
Yeah. No, but anyway, I'll give you 2 YouTube links for previous shows, including Lenon Honors. You can check out our YouTube link, which is www.youtube.com/user/Innervibe show, INNERVIBESHOW, and we're still in the process of moving our shows from our old YouTube to a new one. So our old YouTube is Skidan for Real, SKIDAN 4 Real, REAL. But announcements, yeah. But now, do you have anything to say?
Just a couple more, but you go for the announcements, isn't
I was
it?
just going to talk about
International Women's Day?
Yeah, International Women's Day again. The date is coming closer, people. So yeah, come down. It's going to be good. Like, we've got a live yoga session. We've got a Bakwa demo, which is like Zumba but better. We've got Infusion Dance School doing a 30-minute workshop, which is going to be great. Infusion Dance School are a dance school based in Leicester, affordable, and they deal with hip-hop, contemporary, ballet, African dance, soca, a bit of jazz I heard, a bit of tap, contemporary, like, you know, they do everything. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing that show. And we got a fashion show as well, a cultural fashion show, which will include, like, I think Asian clothing, Somalian clothing, Ethiopian clothing.
Yeah, and food from across the world.
And food from across the world. And anyone who wants to donate anything, if you're in the Leicester area, and if you want to donate food,
shout us a holler.
Yes, please.
Wednesday show?
Wednesday show, we've got Marmaduke.
Yep. From Global Hands.
Global Hands, because on
next Saturday there's a charity event
at the Highfield Centre, and it's a fundraising charity event raising money for Global Hands. So basically at that event we have got Mohawk, Dr. Shaka, D Soul, and the rapper from London, Cyclonius. Check him out on Global Fashion. I actually rate him for a UK rapper, and I don't really rate UK rappers. Really. So yes. Oh, and then there's Love, Leicester University Voices. They're gonna be there. Okay. Ayola and God's Project. So yeah, check that out. £5 a ticket, Highfield Centre.
Yeah. Is there a contact number on there for people to contact?
Oh yeah, by the way, this is in collaboration with S-ence Radio, so S-ence Radio is going to be there, and you can call the world of it. Actually.
Mr. Lee and DJ Tonks.
Yes.
They're spinning the wheels of steel.
Yes, indeed, and there is no contact number.
Okay. Well, just get in touch with us anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we can pass on them details to you, no problem. Before we go, we just want to finish off basically on this programming thing, because this is a topic which is which we have delved into quite a lot, and in order to have a understanding and an understanding of why relationships fail, why there's so many divorces, and not a lot of people getting married, a lot of promiscuous behaviour, a lot of cheating, a lot of lack of respect in relationships. We do need to understand the programming and where it's coming from. And as I said earlier, and what Lenon said about certain TV shows and so forth, and I mentioned about Alan Watt, and he's another guy people should check out really, because he does go in quite deep in terms of how they manipulate and program people into what they want as a culture, as I was talking about earlier on, innit? I mean, the job was given to Hollywood to create a culture. They call it the culture creation industry, and it was about ideas being downloaded into the subconscious via fiction. They use high drama with emotions and crisis scenarios, even in relationships, and these are the methods they use to get a point across. So they combine an idea with the drama, and this is called predictive programming. So we've been programmed to be in certain relationships, as we mentioned earlier, regarding certain movies and even children's movies, how they put an idea into both men and women on what sort of partners we should be aspiring to have in our lives, basically. I mean, and that's important to really ascertain. I'm going to leave you with a quote by Alan Watt. He said, "Hollywood is the magician's wand, which has been used to cast a spell on the unsuspecting public. Things or ideas which would otherwise be seen as bizarre, vulgar, undesirable, or impossible are inserted into films in the realm of fantasy. When the viewer watches these films, his or her mind is left open to suggestions, and the conditioning process begins." So on that note, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in this evening, and you can catch the recording of this show without the adverts, okay? We must apologise for the adverts.
Working on it.
We're working on that. You probably missed quite a bit of the interview because of the adverts, so I want to apologise for that. So, but when we upload it to YouTube, there is no adverts, so...
Except at the beginning, but you can skip that ad most of the time.
Sorry?
Except at the beginning, but you can skip that ad most of the time. You know the annoying ads on YouTube?
They're not on our videos though, innit?
Oh, they're not?
No.
Okay.
No. There's only certain videos, you have to subscribe to that apparently, so yeah, they're not on our videos. Not yet anyway.
Good, yeah.
Not yet. Yes, I would just want to thank everyone for listening and tuning in this evening.
And don't forget to tune in on Wednesday. It's going to be a good show.
Yep. And let's go out there and love again. Let's learn to love ourselves first so we can learn to love our complementary partner, because that's what we're looking at, a complementary partner and not the opposite. As Lenon says, that causes a competitive edge to things. So we have to, see each other as one and love again.
Love.
Yeah.
Okay. Wholeness, everyone.
Yes.
See you on Wednesday.
Sing it. Come on, love the whole world. The whole world. Trust the whole world. Yo, fuck the whole world. Just trust the whole world. Yo, hush the whole world. Fuck this whole world. Whose world is this? The world is yours. The world is yours. Yeah, whose world is this? Bet you feeling like the world is yours, right? Whose world is this? Yeah, like the world is yours, right? Whose world is this? Yo, I'm trying to get to this place that my grandpa told me about as a child. Told me only if you can make it and the faithless ain't allowed. Be a star out your game and name above the clouds. And if you miss, you at least be amongst your own crowd. I smile cause now I see what he meant. I see it in the eyes of mothers when they uncover their sins and repent. Getting closer to Jehovah on they old knees bent. Praying our mind frame switch and these times change quick. But I hate to say it, brother, the youth is too stubborn, too stuck on themselves to ever think about others. They must uncover the scales on their eyes called lies, leading to deaf, dumb, and blind to a place my mom told me about, where your sins get cleansed, cause they bathe in flames. And the only route out is to shout out his name. I was trained to be a soldier for God, but as soon as I used my own thoughts, I kinda got lost in a small called reality, where hell is a fallacy and heaven is a fantasy created by man. So don't believe in it. You came here with nothing and you're leaving with nothing, so retreat from this world of deceitfulness. My people, it's time to rise. Realize it's a heaven, whether you think it's inside or in the sky. Reach for it before it's gone internally, and you stuck here below the heavens for eternity. Whose world is this? Whose world is this? It's like the world is yours, right? Whose world is this? Whose world is this? Yo. Somebody once told me that I'm already in hell. Freedom's a state of mind, it's just the heart of me's in hell. I free my slave mind, so a part of me's in hell. So even when it's hard to breathe, a part of me in hell. So pardon me, you gotta try hard to be yourself. You can't get to heaven being anybody else. I was raised by a reverend, yet the lessons didn't help. Had to get them for myself. I was told hell is hot, but had to feel it for myself. So I left home as a young child, smiling as I stepped on, facing the world butt naked without my weapon. I lost my smile. In exchange, I put a vest on. Now that my premature stress is gone, I got problems to face as a man. I was told you either stand or you fall. Long as you know that when you walk, you holding hands with a God. That alone can turn the dark to a walk in the park. I only talk from my heart, so open doors when you're listening. Every man has his own heaven, but the difference is the way that he envisions it. So if you make your heaven pictureless, by the time you die, you'll be drifting in an imageless field. So build your heaven full of blessed thoughts. That's real. You can stress it or just let it walk. I got a question. If a man can make his own heaven, then can he make his path to get to it too? I only spit fluent truth, and I spit it for the listeners, so I'm spitting to you. You say it's hell, I say it's bullshit we getting through. Just think about it, every man has his own heaven, but shit, you gotta go through hell to be a man first, and understand first, hell is what you choose to call the present. That's why you're going through it, I just choose to call it stress. Tell you fools the truth, I don't feel it's why I'm destined. So you can call it hell, but bruh, I just say I'm below the heavens.